All right. Into the pre-show. Another week, another day of Shadowverse.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just about ready to get the tournament started. But before then, just a little bit of a nice discussion, a nice talk about Shadowverse in general, specifically today about JCG that happened this weekend. As usual, in our pre-shows, we will go over the most recent JCG results and perhaps talk about some of the interesting things that may or may not have occurred in said tournament. So, 2 JCG tournaments over the weekend, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and so 2 different sets of winners, 2 first place winners, 2 second place winners. Tell us a little bit about who made it through.
That's right. On first place on Saturday, there was Arakun. He was running a Blood deck and a Shadow deck, which is interesting because we know that Shadow is one of the most prominent decks. It has the highest play rate on tournament and ladder, but his Blood deck is, I think, the most interesting that he was running. He was using Soul Dealer in his deck. He had 3 Soul Dealers, and normally when you see that card, it's great. We've seen it do wonderfully. It's usually paired with Blood Mary. Play Blood Mary and then Soul Dealer on turn 10, and it deals a lot of damage to the enemy. It's very potent combination, but he wasn't running Blood Mary. It was just Soul Dealer, and then the other cards after that, after turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, were heavily utilizing Vengeance.
We'll take a closer look at the actual deck in just a bit after we go through the results, but it is actually a really interesting deck. But I think I heard that some people in the West were also experimenting and playing with it, but apparently the Japan region has been playing that deck since the expansion arrived. So Bloodcraft, Shadowcraft takes first place, and then second place was more standard, I believe.
Yeah, second place was Kirisu21. He had Dragon and Forest. Dragon, it was a Storm Ramp deck, and Forest was Silverbolt, White Wolf, Roaches, and also Crystalia Aaron, and Elf Queen as well.
Yeah, this is the most recent edition. Those 2 cards giving a lot of survivability to Forestcraft players. And of course, on Sunday's tournament, I think this was also interesting just in the sense that it really seems like the meta is solidifying and conforming to what we understand to be the strongest kind of standout classes in the expansion right now. Dragoncraft and Shadowcraft, I believe, on both of the players there.
Right, there's still a few outliers out there, but they're probably going to be converted pretty soon. I really want to see, I love seeing like ballsy decks that we don't typically see, trying to like catch opponents off guard, trying to utilize new strategies and try to figure those things out.
Yeah,
because
I really appreciate how many Bloodcraft decks we got in the NGE tournament last week. Actually, there were some Storm Implancer decks that we saw, some really interesting deck usage. I would love to see more of that.
But even then, there was a lot of interesting Blood decks, but the Forest Bat Blood decks were not utilized at all.
Yeah.
They were mainly Vengeance-focused decks with Mask, Blood Moon.
I feel like that deck died real quick. Almost instantly. Super interesting to see the deck usage rates. Not much that really needs to be talked about here, except for the fact that now Japan is really dialing in, and it seems like a far cry from what happened the week before, where there was actually still a lot of experimentation. It really felt like a halfway point between Rage of Bahamut and Tempest of the Gods, where it was just kind of halfway one side and halfway the other side. This week, for deck usage rates, it seemed like almost entirely Dragon and Shadowcraft taking the majority of it, Forestcraft coming in second, and again in the Japanese region, which I think is a contrast to the Western region, Swordcraft ignored, and then the other 3 are the same. Haven, Runecraft, and Bloodcraft, mostly underplayed. It's actually interesting, I believe, for the Saturday tournament where Bloodcraft took first place, the single Bloodcraft deck that made it to the playoffs was the one that won. There were no other Bloodcraft players that made it. But even more surprising, for day 2, again, Forestcraft, Dragoncraft, Shadowcraft taking up the majority of the decks in the playoffs. 0 Runecraft decks made it.
0 Runecraft decks made it to the playoffs.
Zero Runecraft decks made it to the playoffs. I think only 1 made it on the day before.
On Saturday, yeah, there was 1.
So Runecraft is really taking a beating, I feel like. Especially considering, I mean, initially when I think about it, I feel like Havencraft is not very popular as well. But that perhaps, maybe there's a little bit of flavor that people appreciate with Havencraft with Heavenly Aegis. But I suppose the same can be said. I think D-Shift is a very flavorful card where I can see players who really like playing the D-Shift combos just still like being very stubborn about it.
D-Shift can do well against Ramp Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's heavily dependent on draw. I think. With that said, I think Ramp Dragon has a better chance of, has a higher chance of having a better draw.
Yeah.
But we've definitely seen D-Shift destroy Ramp Dragon. There's really not a whole lot that can be done for it.
Typically, I think Ramp Dragon kind of actually gets to its strong point a little quick, and so it's very easy for it just to take tempo and have a big dropout before you can play your full D-Shift combo. Things need to go perfectly for the Runecraft player.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take a look at the Bloodcraft deck that actually won Saturday's JCG tournament, Arakun. Arakun played this deck, and I think it's really interesting if we can get a little bit of a closer look here, just a little bit of a zoom so we can see a few more of the details. The biggest, most interesting thing about this deck for me was that it's running Maelstrom Serpent, the Snecks. It's running all the Snecks, but there's no Blood Moon. In fact, the only thing that, the biggest amulet that it plays is the Mask that was added in, that kind of countdown, does its countdown as you take damage. The interesting about it is it overflows damage. So if you do more damage than the countdown is available, the countdown will still go to 0, but you still take 0 damage.
In this comp, it makes sense that he's not running Blood Moon, because that's a 3-cost amulet, giving you Vengeance without losing any health points. But on turn 4, he's got Soul Dealer and Belphegor to bring him down to Vengeance. That's his goal, getting on Vengeance. And then next turns, there's the Dark Arjahammer, Soul Dominator, and Maelstrom Serpent, really utilizing the effect that being in Vengeance gets you.
Yeah, the Dark Airjammer is really interesting as well, because the 2-cost cards that he has way up there at the top of the deck, you can see the Blood Wolf and the Spiderweb Imp, are actually both cards that have fanfare effects that damage your own leader. But when you play the Dark Airjammer, much like when you play Sahagwell, the fanfare effect actually does not activate. And so you can get high-value 2-drop cards without any downside. I mean, on the one side, you get 2 damage to the face every time you play the Dark Airjammer. The other side, you get a 1/4 ward. And I think that's a lot of survivability and very important, especially for a deck that's looking to injure itself. And I think with the addition of Grimner, as well as that Spiderweb Imp, you're giving yourself a lot of good buffer to survive despite the fact you're taking that damage. And then you add Mask on top of that. I think it's just got a good, solid set of early game cards. And of course, this deck is very aggressive. You're looking to play out your cards turn after turn, just continuously swinging at face with things like Dark General, Gainstorm on Vengeance, and you got the 7-drop of the name I can't remember, but actually a very popular card, ramps up whenever another follower is eliminated, and that has Storm as well. And then Maelstrom Serpent, which is interesting to me because it feels like that's kind of like the one card that where if the game goes a little bit too long and you're starting to run out of gas, that's your one last hope. Seems like what the feeling is for the deck.
To me, it works similarly in the way that Heavenly Aegis works. You play Snakes, fills your board, you get really strong followers, but that's it. Same thing with Heavenly Aegis. You play it, you get a really strong follower, but that's it. If you can evolve, that's great. You really want to save those evolve points. That's key, is being able to get some removal and some damage and some momentum in your favor by playing that strong card. So that next turn, if Dragon hasn't ramped up that fast, if Shadowcraft is not in the place it needs to be to finish off next turn, the next turn is when you go face with all those Snakes.
Also very interesting to note that out of all the Bloodcraft decks that are kind of seen as popular right now, it either is Temptress Vampire, or it's Blood Moon Maelstrom Serpent, or it's going to be Azazel with Baphomet. This deck doesn't use hardly any of those cards. You know, it's really looking to just play maybe even perhaps the original vision of what Bloodcraft is supposed to be, where it's like, I'm going to take risks by taking my own life and then go into Vengeance. I think maybe the inclusion of those very strong, very effective ward cards, as well as the Mask Amulet, those to me are the standout cards in that deck that really kind of justify the loss of health and allow you to stay at that risky health point and push through. I could certainly imagine, I mean, typically Bloodcraft on paper, I think, had a lot of trouble in Rage of Bahamut just because Forestcraft was so prominent, right? The more you lower your health down, you're just ending the game quicker, because Roach combos can very quickly be lethal when you get to kind of that 12 health point level, right? And so I think it was very hard to justify doing any kind of damage to yourself. But maybe with Mask and with the prominence of wards, that's not really a thing.
You're right. Forestcraft can easily take someone from 20 health down to -6 health
Mhm.
with a single Silverbolt Roach combo. So when you're playing a card that deals 10 damage to yourself, I'm gonna have to give Forestcraft a favor in that matchup.
So, that being said, make sure you guys send in your fan mail because we love to read that stuff and we'd love to bring that up on the show and talk about it. For today, if you have trouble thinking of whatever topic, send us some of your thoughts about Bloodcraft decks, about Vengeance, about the mechanic, how you think it can be utilized more effectively. Do you think this deck is it? Maybe this deck is the way to push Bloodcraft in a more consistent fashion. Maybe aggro Bloodcraft is back in a new form. Or just anything JCG related, anything Shadowverse Open related, anything Shadowverse related. Make sure you submit your fan mail. We got a lot of really nice tweets from the guys down at Mana Surge. Actually, a lot of them were tweeting out excited about the show, excited about the tournament, as well as previous week's winner, Kira Mango, gave us a nice little message. So thank you so much, you guys, for tweeting at us and continuing to help grow the Shadowverse community. We really appreciate it. Make sure you submit your fan mail. And would love to talk about some of the things that the community thinks about these decks. So,
yeah, if you've got some decks that you think are slightly more improved, trying out something new, some new cards, let us know. We want to see that kind of stuff. It's yeah, we geek out over that all the time.
For today's show, I'm actually looking forward to. So we know for sure there's going to be a lot of Dragon and Shadow.
Yeah.
I think that's a given. I want to see Gwaine the Rock Johnson, or lack thereof. I want to see Swordcraft decks, and there was a really popular. I was kind of, as I do, browsing the Reddits, and Icy Stars, a competitor, made a interesting post about a Gwaine deck that he played. Now, it could be memes, and it could be him just trying to convince people to play Gwaine.
Just totally trolling.
Yeah, and be like, hey, I totally got a huge win streak with this deck. But I actually think it's pretty interesting, because I want to see what the possibilities are for a deck like that, right? What are the cool combos you can play with Gwaine attacking in and lowering the cost of your captains? And I mentioned last week that Gwaine is an interesting card because you're lowering the cost of Albert, but if you want to play Albert on Enhance, it doesn't matter, right? So unless there's like some flexibility you can have in playing early Storm with Albert, of course that's not the only captain in the deck. Right. Another very useful one these days is Luminous Mage, which is just an incredible card for Swordcraft.
We see just about every Swordcraft deck running Luminous Mage.
Incredibly flexible, good board control, just everything that Swordcraft would want and need. So that's kind of what I'm excited for today's show. I want to see Swordcraft decks.
On a similar note, with regards to Swordcraft, I really want to see, and I'm not going to see this, no one's ever going to play this tournament. I really want to see a Vagabond Frog Swordcraft.
Vagabond Frog!
Yeah. We know that deck can do incredibly well against Ramp Dragon. It's awful against Shadowcraft. Like, this is just like, there's no way. But against Ramp Dragon, with having the frog gaining ambush at the end of your turn, Dragoncraft doesn't have any untargeted removal aside, before Lightning Blast.
Yeah, but
on
that's
turn 10.
Turn 10, yeah.
By that time, you've already died.
Yeah.
And Breath of the Salamander can do the 2 damage across the board, but if you've got Rogue's Creed, Well of Destiny, your frog is already getting massively ramped up.
The single frog.
The single frog. And you're going face for 7 damage, 8 damage every turn. It can, when you put all your eggs in that basket, it gets shut down pretty hard against most other decks. But I really want to see someone trying to combat the Ramp Dragon deck with
That's
frog.
Interesting. I wonder, they would have to try to snipe the win off the Dragoncraft deck. It's the only way I could see that happening. So if you're going to play Vagabond Frog, always play that deck first.
Always play it
first. Yep. Always play it first. That's the only way.
Of course, now everyone's going to put their Shadowcraft decks first.
Dang it. Well, it doesn't matter, because the thing is, if you don't play it first, right, then you play your alternate deck, then they sneak out the Dragoncraft win, and they're like, okay, I don't have to play Dragoncraft.
So you at least get one win out of it. Yep.
All right. Well, excited for the tournament to start, and we'll see you guys in just, 8 minutes. And hopefully some more exciting NGE Shadowverse Open action. Week 2, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the NGE Shadowverse Open. We've had 1 week of competition, and now we are at our second week. I'm Rainey.
And I'm Sterling. Man, I'm excited for the second week.
The second week is interesting because I feel like people are getting real comfortable with the expansion. I think that the expansion, it feels like, got kind of played out real quick, and now everybody's just scrambling to head to Dragoncraft and Shadowcraft, and they're all kind of sitting in their spots trying to get comfortable.
That's right. We talked about the JCG, about how we noticed that players, what we saw last week was even more so. It just amplified. The meta is really solidifying.
Yeah. So let's take a look at the journey that these players are going to have to go through for the Shadowverse Open, and how they can make it towards the end of the tournament. We're in the open entry phase, open to North American players, and they will receive a playoff invitation. The first place winner, that is. So Kir Mango is our first invite, and he will be making it to playoffs phase 1, which will be a 16-player invitational. Some of them directly invited for the first place finish, the rest of them invited through their leaderboard points earning. So in the open entry phase, depending on how you place and how consistently you play, you have a chance to make it to the playoffs as well. Day 2 of the playoffs, top 8-player invitational. And the top player wins the NGE Shadowverse Open Season 1. That is a Tempest of the Gods champion.
And takes home that $4,000 for first prize. The rest of the remaining $6,000 split between 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and through 8th.
Through to 8th. So 1st through 8th taking prize money. But of course, the open entry tournaments are also prized out. And we will give out red vials to the winner. 30,000 red vials. That's basically whatever legendary you want to craft. You can craft tons of them, disenchant them, craft more of them.
Metric dump tons of legendary cards is what you'll be going home with. Second place, 10,000 red vials. Third and fourth, 5,000 red vials. And all participants receive the NGE Shadowverse Open emblem.
Emblem.
So a really nice gift that everybody gets to go home with.
Absolutely. Of course, not to mention that there are actually unique flares that are given to the tournament winners, the open entry weekly tournaments that are happening here. 10 of them will be given out. Kir Mango will be the first to receive the title. And then, of course, the highest points earner of the season on the leaderboard is going to get a specific Season 1 MVP title. And then finally, the Grand Champion title goes to the winner of the playoffs. So lots of stuff to obtain and get. And hopefully lots of players, able, competitive Shadowverse players will come to fight against each other and play against one another. So I believe that right now we are in the round of 16.
That's right.
Well, our first match is going to be a round of 16 match. But before we do that, how you participate in the NGE Shadowverse Open, definitely head to our website, shadowverse.nge.io. And you can find information about the tournament, the rule set, the schedule, everything at that link. And if you want to get involved and participate, talk to us, yell at a card, just say stuff in general. I think that's what Twitter is for. @WatchNGE. Social. Be social. You can be social in the darkness of your room. I understand. I really do. I get it.
That's a beautiful world we live in. Don't have to go outside,
Wrapped in
but still be
blankets.
social.
Just one hand creeps out from under the blanket and grabs the mouse.
Grabs the Mountain Dew with the other hand.
Yeah. It hits too close to home. But yeah. So that's how you can get involved. And we will be hopping into the round of 16 match between MS Noah and Runier. MS, we mentioned them, Mana Surge. And I'm happy to see them get so involved in the tournament. I'm really happy to see the Shadowverse community come out.
Yeah, we've heard a lot from them. For sure, they're very friendly. I mean, which is nice. They seem like cool guys.
Hey, what's the pin you're wearing today? Oh, you're boring. Come on.
What? It's Lucy. Me and him go way back.
You've got a nickname for him now?
Yeah, he's got a nickname for me.
People are gonna like my
Jerry.
pin.
That's what he calls me.
Oh God, yeah. The close up. I'm trying to get the reflection out there. You know what that is. You know what that is at home. When I grow up,
no one can tell what that is.
When I grow up, I want to be a ding dong.
If I didn't know what it was, it looks like it could be Wind God, just from this blurry image.
Wind God was last week.
That's right. Yeah.
This week is Bell Ringer Angel.
I'm sticking tried and true. He's gonna give me luck.
Yeah. Well, he's getting phased out right now because Bahamut and Ouroboros are kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, Bahamas is definitely bringing in the pain. Yeah, how do you say it?
But, I'm getting conflicting messages about the actual pronunciation of this
It's
card.
totally Bahamas. It makes sense. You play the card, the
You
animation happens, a big flash of sunlight, everybody gets sunburned,
Uh-huh.
and they have to go inside, put on some aloe vera.
I've never been to the Bahamas before. I've never that experience. Also, never been sunburned. But maybe
You've never been sunburned?
No, I've never been sunburned. I've been blessed with the skin of a dragon, I suppose. Do dragons get sunburned? That's a good question.
Probably not. They don't. They have armor.
They have scales. All right. Ooh, look at this.
Double
right off the
sword.
bat. Swordcraft mirror. All right. All right. Who's going first? Who's going second? This is going to be interesting. Look at those mulligans. Got the maid leader. Oh, Fangblade Slayer. Okay.
Man, this is a throwback to Rise of the Bahamut. Fangblade Slayer.
Fangblade Slayer is an interesting card, usually for late game oriented decks, of course, with the 8-play point, but it gives some guaranteed value just by, if you swing at a follower, that damage will instead be put onto the leader. Start out with the female Stormblader right there.
I really like the hand from Runier. Having made leader on turn 2 is going to be absolutely crucial. We're going to see if he's going to play it this turn and get Albert in his hand. I think that's the goal. That's what he wants. But still a difficult hand. The Quick Blader or the female version of the Quick Blader is not going to have the best choice. He's either going to have to not attack or go for face, and then he's just going to heal up for 2 anyway.
TAG. I believe it's Katana Unsheath.
Mm.
Is a veteran Lancer, of course. Solid card, but I feel like that Unica was really great. I mean, caught up, didn't get board wipe. The Quick Blader didn't swing, and now you can play the maid leader. That's great. Pulls you and Albert. Fantastic. Exactly
Trading Unica into the veteran Lancer, and Noah was able to get the maid leader on the board first, which I think matters a lot.
It's interesting here, 2 Fangblade Slayers, but I feel like the curve is looking real good actually for Noah here. You've got Geno, then you've got the Luminous Mage, which we talked about a little bit. Fantastic card. And then, well, I guess no real good 6-drop, but
he's got options. He could play Luminous Mage or Albert if he wants to really dig in that base damage. He's taking some damage here, but Geno's definitely going to clear the board, have a big, beefy follower
that's
to have to deal with.
Leno. We should just start calling him Leno.
Jay Leno?
Jay Leno.
He's got a snout that's kind of like a chin, right? That's what Jay Leno's known for.
Yeah. Chinny chin chin. All right, first evolved point being played on the Grimner.
Man, what a value out of that Grimner if he attacks Jay Leno there. He's going to have 1 point of health, which doesn't look like much. Obviously, a Quick Blader could deal with that, but that's 1 whole attack that Albert's not going to be able to go for face with this turn.
Full soul swing. Easy choice to remove the 4 damage. Doesn't have to trade a card into it, so you're going to be avoiding a lot of that. And the Angel of the Word. What is the word?
The bird is the word.
It's the bird. But in this case, it was the death of a poor little Quick Blader there. Nice. Luminous Mage gets played. Free evolve. There's just so much value you get out of Luminous Mage. The free evolve point, basically playing a rush follower, and you can choose to use the more beefy card, or if you want a little more precision, put it on the Luminous
It's
Knight.
the Swordcraft version of Aaron.
The great thing too is it's also just that AoE buff that's so valuable for Swordcraft decks. I feel like just across the board +1 damage when you evolve the Knight is great.
Noah's got the enhanced Jay Leno if he wants to trade that into the Mage and then attack the Knight. That would clear the advantage. He wouldn't have any more commanders on the field. And he would have 2 Knights himself with the Knights left over from Leno.
Gotta opt to play the Mage instead.
Yeah, having the free evolve point definitely going to help more in the long run when you want to save those evolve points for an Albert on turn 9.
Right now, evolve is so valuable for Swordcraft, especially with Albert in hand. Runier still has not drawn an Albert, so turn 9 might actually be tough, and because Noah went first, turn 9 is coming first, right? So he's actually going to be able to swing for 10 if he opts to do so, if the board state is that way for him. And being able to play Luminous Mage means you can kind of maintain that board control, that tempo, without spending resources that you're going to want to spend on Albert instead.
And you mentioned the fact that he's going first, so he's going to have turn 8 first, which means that's going to be 5 damage and a cleared follower if he elects to play Fangblade Slayer, which he's got 2 in his hand.
Yes.
I think that'd be an absolutely stellar 8 play, followed by the 10 damage from the evolved Albert. And Runier, he's got Alwidas.
Yeah. It's good kind of taking up board space. And I really think it's interesting here. Rainier has been able to get some good face damage and will continue to do so, where I feel like that's kind of a situation that Noah wanted to be in, right? Face damage is very valuable for Noah because you got that 10 smack on turn 9. So if you can put Rainier in a dangerous spot, then he has to change up his line of play to protect himself and to kind of play around the fact that he could have just his life ended right when it hits that 9 play point territory. But as it stands, we have Noah playing on the back foot here, down to 11 health. And that's real dangerous.
Yeah, we saw Noah using the Angel of the Word to clear board instead of going for face. But Runier's going for full face damage. And I think it's paying off for Runier even more. I mean, obviously, if you look at the points, there's 20 health for Runier and 11 health for Noah.
Gonna play Albert here early. He really wants a board clear, and I don't blame him for that because you don't know what Rainier has in hand, right?
That's right.
Not really sure how much damage he's packing.
He could have Tsubaki in his hand, for example. And having an Albert with 5 attack damage, that's a prime target for anyone's Tsubaki.
Gosh, and another Alwidas. That's a lot of actual board control, and the Alwidas into the Fang Blade can actually be very dangerous here. Of course, you have to consider how you want to remove that Albert. It's a little awkward.
Because on the next turn, Noah has got the evolved Fangblade Slayer that I think we're going to see. And there's not a perfect curve for Runier to play on this turn. It's either a 6 Alwidas, a Leno, or a Lyrial Crystal Archer. He's definitely not going to go for that card.
I mean, I feel like the likelihood is that Runier will be able to survive kind of 2 turns before Noah plays his heavy cards. And being that Noah's at 7 health, not very concerned, right? You've got 5 damage already from the Fangblade Slayer as long as you keep Albert alive.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's played his own Fangblade Slayer, basically having a follower on the board is a free 5 damage for Rainier.
He's got 1 point of damage from Maid Leader and 5 points of damage from Fangblade Slayer if he wants to play it this turn. That's going to be 1 damage short. So he's not going to have lethal this turn. He's not going to be able to finish the game off just yet.
It might be worth it just to put Noah further on the back foot, having to continuously throw his cards in as he gets them to survive. But on the other hand, you might want to chip away and wait for a ward card to come down, just to make sure that you counter the options that Noah has in hand. It's all it's all risk, right?
Mm-hmm. And of course, trading the Fangblade Slayer into another Fangblade Slayer will kill them both. Mm-hmm. They both have Bane.
Yeah. And so you lose that option almost immediately. And I mean, the rest of the cards in Rainier's hand, actually not super great for the late game, right?
He's got a mage, though, and Rainier doesn't have, or Noah has the mage, and
yes.
Rainier does not have the Luminous Mage. Having that extra evolve point is going to come in really crucial.
I like that. I like this play that Rainier is going for. Of course, that's going to give an extra 3 damage, and against Swordcraft, it's real dangerous to take face damage, especially at the 9-10 play point territory towards the late game. And a second Fangblade Slayer in hand. Noah's got himself a really great situation. Gonna play the Jay Leno with the Enhance. Not gonna proc that last word, but I don't think he's super concerned about that. There's a lot of board control here. And
it looks like Runier's gonna take this. The evolved Fangblade Slayer and will destroy the ward. And then 1 attack from the Maid Leader, that's gonna be lethal right there. Mm-hmm. Next turn, if he's gonna evolve the Lancer, and that's gonna take out the Maid Leader. Yeah. That's absolutely the right choice.
Yeah. And it's getting real close, I think. Let's see what the card draw is. Oh, Whole Soul. No.
Not the best value.
He lives 1 turn. So Noah will survive 1 turn here. Is there anything in Noah's hand? I mean, I guess if he draws Albert, right?
He's got Grimnir next turn, if he wants to get the full effect out of that. Before Rainier has the chance.
It all depends on how much of this board can be cleared here. Because Rainier can't go for the kill, now the tempo is on Noah's side. What is the play?
Grimnir will do 4 damage.
He's got 8 with Grimnir. And it's going to wipe the board. And Fangblade Slayer is still not in range.
Top
Man,
deck, cross the fingers.
Talk about how quickly this game turned around, you know? And I actually don't think Runier playing that Fangblade Slayer early on would have really changed very much. I don't know. I'll have to see what that situation was. And now we have the arrival of Albert. He could be dropped, evolve, and take down both the Fangblade as well as Grimnir. Let's see if that's a choice here. He doesn't evolve, actually.
Well, but it's not going to take out the Fangblade because he didn't evolve it.
He didn't choose to evolve, unless he evolves it here. Yep, he's choosing to do so. Oh, that's a dangerous
And that's going to
situation.
leave his board completely empty.
That was fun for a change.
Yep. So his board is empty. Novice Trooper exists. Luminous Mage would give him 4 damage. Oh, Alweda's.
As soon as
Yep,
you drew a
there it
Lotus,
is.
just threw that on the field.
Yep.
That's going to be lethal.
Yep. Wow. My goodness.
Game 1 going over to Noah. What a turnaround.
MS Noah able to barely hang on in the late game. And I feel like, you know, one of the things about Sword is direct damage is actually not super common. And I almost feel like, how would the game have changed if Runier had put Noah at 1? I mean, what different decisions could have been made? Because he still ended up playing the Grimnir. I don't know if it was on that turn. There could have been at least 2 turns because 8th and 9 play points, and then there was one more turn, then 10, right?
You're right. Runier decided to hold on to the Fangblade Slayer, hoping that he would get that perfect damage, but the perfect damage never came. And now we're going into Game 2, MS Noah 1, Runier 0. We'll see if MS Noah can close this out or if Runier can come back and bring it 1-1.
You must die.
All right, MS Noah and Runier. Runier's gonna stay with the with the Swordcraft deck, and the alternate deck for Noah is gonna be Shadowcraft.
MS Noah drawing Catacomb and Orthrus on the first
Yeah.
turn.
2 big cards. Such a huge tempo shift. Oh, and the Shadow Reaper, but there doesn't seem to be good 1 and 2 drops for Noah to set that Shadow Reaper up. And again, we have 2.
And we've got Runier with the Katana Unleashed, Whole Sword Swing. Great 1-2 drops to gain the momentum in Runier's favor.
Gonna swing face again and play Luriel. And I like that. I think that's good. Don't play your whole souled sword yet. Whole souled swing. Just save it for a rainy day, if you will.
Noah kind of playing the same way he was playing last game, electing to go for control on the board rather than pure face damage.
And I mean that. How much closer can you make it, right? Right at the end there, when you were on the precipice of facing lethal, Noah was able to crawl his way back. Will that board control option work for him this time around? Now, typically, Swordcraft, I think, has a very difficult time against Shadowcraft, mainly because of Prince Catacomb. I mean, Swordcraft really has a hard time with AoE clear, you know, and we saw that in the last round in the mirror match. In this particular round, that situation is not getting any better for Runier.
And having Tsubaki in hand this early in the game is not the best that you could have hoped for. It could destroy something like an Ector or an Immortal Thane, if that's what Noah's got in his deck, but at this early stage in the game, the momentum is heavily in the favor of Noah.
3 damage skeleton. Evolve comes online for Runier. And let's see, he's got a bunch of people on horseback gonna play Jay Leto. Let's see. Doesn't have the last word on it. But certainly the skeleton is what holds the higher damage value. Gonna try to evolve, and so he's gonna the 11 Vanguard is gonna survive. 6-2.
Goblin Princess in the hand of Noah. I think getting the heavy ward in the hand would be great. He's gonna like to play the Bone Chimera and the Shadow Reaper, getting a lot of followers on the board to really beef up that Shadow Reaper, and not to mention clear the Jay Leno.
You get put into this really tough situation now where you kind of want to board clear, but the more you board clear, you're just buffing up the Shadow Reaper.
You're digging your grave even deeper.
And because of the ambush available, even if this was a situation where you could play Tsubaki, it's just there's no good way, particularly in hand for Runier, but just overall for Shadowcraft to remove that Shadow Reaper. And so you just kind of have to let those cards stay. Thankfully, 2/2/2 cards on the table is going to tide things over just a little bit, and having Unica is a good attraction for
But it's just going to destroy those skeletons.
yes. And that's essentially that's kind of the big issue with Shadow Reaper against Sword. Is that there's not really a good way. There it is, Cerberus, and he's got one play point.
If he
that
uses
could
Coco or
beef
Mini,
up. He could take
Tsubaki's
board
in
control.
hand, that will destroy the Shadow Reaper.
Yep, there it is. He opts for board control, and it keeps the Shadow Reaper on 4 damage. So Tsubaki will not proc the ability. Has to spend an evolve point.
What a great play. And he didn't know that Tsubaki was in hand.
He probably suspected that that was a thing.
Mid-range sword
happen.
definitely runs
Yeah.
that card a lot.
I
So
mean,
very
Tsubaki
good
is
play.
such a great card. So has to spend the evolve to take down the Shadow Reaper. Now Shadowcraft is sitting at 10 health, so
Little Soul Squasher. That'll destroy the pirate.
let's see. Still holding on to Coco. Nice. This card is super effective. You get a lot of board space, and even if they take down the princess, which has the majority of the damage, you get the 5/5 ward, making it ever more difficult for Swordcraft to climb its way back into the tempo game.
He's going to spend an evolve point on the Goblin to trade into the Viking, exhausting the options, clearing the board of Runir. Coco could still come out on Cerberus if he wants to get that extra 5 damage, putting him on 9 health.
And that's going to open up Tsubaki as a play. But I mean, the damage is already done, right? Cerberus already swung for 5. And just playing the Mimi, I mean, Cerberus has gained value already, you know. Fangblade coming up, but 1 turn away, and
Take my blade of resentment.
there it is. Take my blade of resentment.
Sorry, gotta go.
Take my blade of resentment.
Interesting that last turn, Noah elected to not use Soul Conversion on the Princess to gain the Goblin King immediately. Even though he had 1 play point left, and he would have drawn 2 cards, not to mention. Although next turn, he's completely dependent upon this next draw.
I think it's so interesting because it's very tempting to evolve and clear, but even if you do that, Soul Squasher comes in and just eliminates that card as an option or as kind of any kind of presence on the board.
Right, Runir must know that the Soul Squasher is in hand for Noah.
Yeah.
Must suspect it, at least.
For 2 costs, that's incredible.
2 cost 4 shadows.
Not going to evolve, just going to hold.
No, Prince Catacomb with 3 followers on the board, that's going to get some insane value. Not to mention 2 Soul Conversion. He's going to get the chance to draw many more cards. Going for face is going to help bring this match to a close, but there's still a Fangblade Slayer in the hand of Runir and an evolve point.
That's 5.
And 4 damage from Tsubaki next turn. That's 9. Very close. Very close.
The Fangblade Slayer can serve double purposes, clearing the board as well as doing the damage to face. What is the play here? Shadow Reaper again.
Noah's trying to get the maximum efficiency from the cards he plays this turn. Playing Goblin King would be nice. Getting that ward, it'd feel really good. But the Fangblade Slayer is going to be able to clear that in a second. He doesn't even have to evolve it to get the 5 damage.
But can he clear the board enough to survive 3? Because as he kills followers, that Shadow Reaper is just getting more buff. There's no evolve for any removal opportunity. So he would have to be leveraging... Okay, but you have to play 8 play points, so you're not going to get a ward. I don't think there's a way out.
There's not a way out. I think Noah's going to be able to take this
Yeah.
2-0.
There's no way out here.
Was there a top deck that would have helped Runir in this situation? We don't know what his deck is. Would an Albert have saved him? Having
No, because
he wasn't on turn 9.
You don't have enhance. You need something. I almost feel like you need something like Front Guard General almost, you know? You just need to spam wards.
Maybe Cyclone Blade. We see that card in Runecraft decks a lot. But
Cyclone
Tsubaki,
Blade.
it wouldn't have cleared off the Goblin General.
Yeah.
And that's going to be Runir tapping out.
Wow, 2-0 MS Noah. Swordcraft, Shadowcraft. We talked about a little bit the differences between Japan and the Western scene. Swordcraft is much more popular, and we see it being very successful here. Tough situation for Runir. In both games, health lead early on, just playing much more aggro, and to be fair, he played his Swordcraft deck twice. I just feel like there perhaps wasn't enough gas to get him there. You know, in many ways, I think a Quick Blader is great in the context of fast aggro decks. But once you get into thinking about Fangblade Slayer, maybe there's some better value cards that you can take in place of those one costs.
And Shadowcraft is able to maintain plenty of aggression on the board while still having plenty of board clear and draw opportunities. Soul Conversion is a great card that we see a lot. Aside from Made Leader and maybe Avant Blader, if a deck is running that card, there's not a lot of opportunities to draw cards or draw followers.
So, it seems like Mana Surge's Noah will be moving on to the round of 8. And they were close games, but it just looked like the decks that he brought were very solid, both in the mirror matchup as well as in the Shadowcraft versus Swordcraft. What can I say? There's a reason why certain decks are popular in the meta right now, because they're just that much more effective in tournament play. Would have loved to see what Rainier's alternate deck was, but we will be moving on to the next match. I believe we're still in the round of 16. It's going to be Auto Aim versus Concussion.
I wonder if we're still going to see the Shadow, or if we're going to finally see Dragon. There was no Dragon in that first game. Both players wanted to have a Swordcraft deck. Maybe Runier's second deck was Dragon, and we just didn't get to see it.
Probably, yeah. It's a tough spot, because in some ways the deck you play first, as we talked about in the pre-show, oftentimes the deck you play first is a deck you want to make sure is a tough matchup, right? You want to win. You want to, if it's a counter deck, then you're kind of trying to get your opponent to play that counter deck, right? The deck that you counter with it. So
Right.
your more niche deck or your weaker deck, depending on how you build your decks, should come first in that situation, as long as you're okay with taking the first loss, right? It's a gamble.
Right.
So, I believe this is the first match of the round of 8. So we're into the quarterfinals. Let's take a look. Concussion. What an interesting way to spell that name as well.
I didn't look at the spelling. How was it spelled?
K-U-N. I'm pretty sure that's like, yeah, maybe somewhere in the world out there, in the internet world, there's somebody out there who spells it with a K.
Getting real creative there.
Creative with a K. K-R-E-A.
Creative with a K.
Creative with a K. K stands for cool. Concussion's pretty cool. All right.
Auto Aim bringing a Runecraft deck to the board.
What is this? Daria?
Ruler of the skies.
Oh, Zeus. Oh, animated Zeus. Mulligan,
Whoa.
see ya. Maybe it'll show up again. It is Dragoncraft after all. But 2 ramp. It's not bad.
We don't often
for a
see
mulligan.
Zeus in a ramp deck. I'm going to assume that there's more Storm
Dragon.
cards.
Yeah, Storm
Absolutely.
Dragon. I feel like it's typically a choice between something like Zeus or Genesis Dragon or something like that. But I feel like I've just seen so many Sahagwheel Dragoncraft decks that...
How do you do?
And maybe this deck even just still has Sahagwheel and it's just like Zeus is one of the things as well,
Right.
Gonna automatically have that Storm on it.
I love the draw that Concussion had. He had Oracle on turn 2, and he's going to be able to get Rahab on the field next turn. That's, I think, one of the perfect turns that a ramp Dragon deck can have is Oracle right into Rahab. And he's got Sybil in the hand for next turn. I love this curve that Concussion was able to get. But Daria coming out really early for Auto Aim, that's going to be really great as well. He's going to be able to spell boost that right out of the gate.
Yep. Maybe happens to have a mage that's incidentally as old as dirt, if you didn't know. Old as dirt, by the way.
And he's got the first evolve point. He's going to be able to get Levi on the field and evolve before anything else. I love the first opportunity to evolve with Levi. That's why I love Runecraft and Daria going second.
We did talk about this as well in terms of just the Runecraft versus Dragoncraft matchup and kind of pacing of what is strong and when Dragoncraft kind of hits. We talked about that within the context of D-Shift, but in Daria, I think it's a little bit different. In many ways, you're kind of playing yourself almost into Breath of the Salamander, right? Because a lot of Runecraft's goal is just to flood the board with minions after the Daria combo. But then Breath of the Salamander comes in and could just wipe or weaken a lot of those minions. Now, I think something like an Ogler, for example, wouldn't die by the AoE. And then you have to deal with the Daria and the Ogler in hand. So, I don't know. It was a pretty good draw for both players.
Absolutely. And I think the ramp has been absolutely perfect for concussion. He's going to have Sybil on turn 5.
He's giving him an 8 play point turn now.
Mhm.
Took down Ayala with the Crimson Sorcery.
So he's going to be able to play Sybil. He's going to get the full effect out of Sybil right on turn 5 with the healing and the
And
extra
the
orb,
Yep.
being able to play Bahamas next turn, and Breath of the Salamander on the same turn as he evolves Sybil.
I
Really-
get so faked out by you whenever you say that.
Healing back up to full health, able to play Ouroboros next turn if he wants, or Bahamas. Clear the board.
Oh my gosh. All right. Turn is now in the hands of Dance of Death. Okay.
That's his whole
That
turn
was a
right
whole
there.
turn. Daria's down to 3 costs. You've got 1 spell. Ideally, you want to play the minions or you want to play the followers.
Getting the animated Zeus on the board is tempting. It's difficult to deal with. Knowing that auto-aim just used Dance of Death the previous turn,
Yeah.
the chances that he'd have a second one, or maybe Fiery Embrace, another spell boost card that could get rid of some followers.
Yeah, and I mean, removal typically is actually really great against Dragoncraft. Aside from Ouroboros, where you kind of want Banish rather than just straight removal. There he is. Oh, that's... My god. Look at his beard. Fantastic.
His beard and his ball head
Just a mage who's as old
coming in
as
clutch
dirt.
this game.
He's as old as dirt. Crimson Sorcery?
It won't be
Is he
long
going to
now.
throw the Levi in there as well?
It's just like
Now he's
back in
got
the
2
old
1-cost spells, and that's going to be kind of useful because it's going to keep pushing Dara's cost down lower and lower, as well as the Ogler. So he's actually got a fairly good combo going here for himself. But how do you remove Zeus?
That's right, you can't go for any face damage as long as Zeus is on the field. Storm, Bane, and Ward.
Oh, he's going to have to trash his Ogler if he decides to play Daria this turn.
And his Crimson Sorcery.
I don't think he's going for it.
He's going to wait a turn. Okay, very
Yeah,
smart.
yep.
Very smart.
We've got 510 on the board, 15 health. Now, Ouroboros? Probably.
Probably, I'd say that's the optimal play here. Getting 3 damage to face and that
It's
other
just
follower.
awkward kind of to play the Bahama in this situation.
That's right.
Could maybe draw, but I think Ouroboros is so highly valuable anyways.
Nothing?
Is there an Evolve?
Unbelievable.
No.
He's going to
He
play
was
it
just
safe.
gonna
He's
wait
going to
for the
save
next
that
turn.
on.
Yep.
Maybe in case Draconic Fervor next turn. Heal for 3 health.
Still no good way to kind of get rid of. So he can play both the Blade Mage and the Ogler and then the Daria for a big turn.
But that's so much gas, so
Yep.
much energy, and cards
it
that are
is.
used on just getting rid of the Zeus. We'll see what this draw is going to bring.
Another Blade Mage. So, it didn't quite spell boost it to the end there. So, he's at 0 play points, so he's going to have to do swing for 7. Goodbye. Wipe the Ouroboros, heals for 3. And this is the eternal problem. I mean, you could just play Bahamut, and there goes your Daria combo, right?
Right.
Ouroboros instead. There, 1.
After all,
Nice.
time to head home.
And the Evolve as well. And this is what we're talking about, kind of, what is the payoff you get from playing Daria? Not only did it come later than when Dragoncraft kind of made it to 10 play points, but Dragoncraft has been playing incredible value back-to-back, and your whole Daria combo just got dunked by...
Oh, Mutagenic Bolt getting the best value out of it, getting to take Ouroboros off the field.
Wow, they're going to start hitting themselves. That's actually fantastic. Draconic Fervor to try to draw options.
But
That was a huge draw for auto-aim.
definitely a huge draw. Now he's got Grimnir and Sahakwiel next turn if he wants to use any of those combos.
But, you have
But
to
the
think,
Flame
like,
Rat is working in favor of Concussion.
He has so much self-healing. At least he got rid of the Ouroboros, but...
And Melvi, probably the worst double-edged sword in this specific situation when Dragoncraft only has 2 cards in its hand.
Mhm.
Definitely don't want to give the Dragoncraft player a full hand of 7 cards.
Yep. So 1 damage each. Now, I think the situation is still... You could... There's only one card in the hand of the Rootcraft player. Oh, he's going to place a Hawk. Bring in the Bahamut. Doesn't have the evolve point. But I think Concussion just says, you know what, I'm just going to play all my cards now. Because the next turn, unless you top deck something huge, you're done.
Right, Concussion really wanted to bring this match to a close. Next turn, Magic Missile on the top deck.
No, Daria!
Really gonna be special.
All right, Melby. Oh!
It's knowledge I seek.
There's no way.
You have my gratitude.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Thanks, bro.
Concussion takes the first game in the match in the round of 8. Auto aim. You know, to be fair, you make it this far with a Runecraft deck. Props to you.
Yeah, way to go.
Props
That's
to you,
the
but-
last thing I expected to see. We just got done talking about in the pre-show
Mhm.
how in JCG on Sunday there were 0 occurrences of
Yeah.
Runecraft showing up in the playoffs.
So if only Auto aim would make it one round further into the semifinals, because the broadcast for JCG start at the final 4 players. If only Auto aim would make it to the semis, then he could have surpassed many of the
He could break the record.
Yeah,
he
he
could start
could.
something new.
yeah, the one and only, the Runecraft that was chosen to be. But hey, do you think that Auto aim is going to go for Runecraft again?
I'd have to know what his other deck choice was and what the other player's deck choice, because they know what decks they're going against. They're able to see their opponent's decks.
Yes.
Mutagenic Bolt, I love the way that it got rid of
Yeah.
Ouroboros. That was absolutely
It's such
clutch.
a shame that it didn't bring the win. We were talking about that too in the first week. Mutagenic Boldaria was a thing that people had developed very quickly.
It's
And of course, I was
absolutely
very interested in it because
it's really strong against aggro decks, aggro shadow, being able to completely transform all the enemy followers,
Yeah.
all the whites and the Thanes and the Ectors that they've got on their field. Really potent card.
So let's go ahead and see the next, what happens next on the next episode of Concussion versus Auto Aim. Could you imagine if one episode was just one game of Shadowverse, how slow that would be?
How many weeks?
Actually, that's about right, because both players would stand there and yell at each other for a while and kind of power up. And then the 10 minutes of the actual combat would happen, and then it would be the next episode. That sounds about right. That's like the formula, I believe.
That would work. Concussion, changing over to a shadow deck, and Auto Aim bringing out a sword deck. This is the third
What a-
sword deck we've seen all day.
I love the bravery from Auto Aim. I love it. You
Yeah,
bring
bring in-
Swordcraft. Let's not look at Dragoncraft. Let's not look at Shadowcraft. I'm going to bring 2 decks, and of course, Swordcraft is not necessarily that far removed from what can be very effective in tournament play, but still, that's awesome.
And the curve from Concussion is great. 1 cost, 2 cost followers right out of the gate. If he could get Prince Catacomb, that would absolutely solidify one of the best combos that makes this deck so strong.
Hey, word on the street is that it's Ector. What are your thoughts?
Ector, yeah, that's what I've been told. Someone, very nice person, reached out to me and said, "Hey, bro, you totally pronounced the name of the card wrong. It's an alternate spelling of the name Hector. You imbecile."
Is it really? Oh, huh. Interesting. Hector.
Hector. Yes.
Maybe we should just call him the Demon Lord.
The Demon Lord.
is pretty cool, to be honest.
Stay safe. It's
Yeah.
Demon Lord.
Yeah. There it is.
There it is, Prince Catacomb.
Oh God. Oh God. The Skeleton Knight, and now you don't have. Oh man.
What are you hiding inside?
What are you hiding? Isn't that creepy? It's
a little creepy.
A little bit creepy. Oh my gosh. Shadowcraft. To be fair, it's just 1 damage, right? That's what I always think when I play against a Shadowcraft
Top deck Floor Fencer, what a great card. I was so worried about that hand from Auto Aim. He had 3 Alberts in hand on turn 4 with the first evolve point, but he was able to draw Floor Fencer. Really, that's got to feel really good.
Not very nice curves on that, but he made out. He made out okay.
Absolutely. Still in this fight. Still has got many more skeletons to deal with.
Man, look at these animated cards. Get animated Cerberus and the animated Ariet. Probably one of the nicest looking cards out there. how does that fit into this? You trying to get Albert to swing 3 times? Is that what the goal is here? If not, that style play would be incredible.
You hiding
Oh my
inside.
god. Skeletons after skeletons.
Skeletons for days. Absolutely brutal.
And the Soul Squasher.
Is that the second catacomb we've seen?
Yep, this is Catacomb number 2.
I'm willing to bet there's a third one in the deck.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
3 Alberts in hand. What does the main leader even draw at this point?
Fencer, maybe, if that's in hand. White General. We see those
Luminous
cards.
Mage.
Tsubaki. Yeah, of course.
Let's see. There it is. Of course. Of course.
So 1 mana point gonna go to waste there.
There's still not a good way out of this situation.
No, there's not. Even Cyclone Blade, were he to draw it, I don't think he's running it. I don't think Auto Aim has it in his deck. Even that would only work more in the favor of Concussion, giving him more shadows to utilize when turn 7 rolls around and Iktar is going to be placed on the field.
Yeah. And not even... Yeah. You know, I feel like against Shadow, you just need to bite the bullet. Just do it. Just summon all the skeletons.
But then you're only making Shadow even stronger by destroying all those followers.
Yeah, because it's gaining shadows.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Cerberus gets played here. Lots of damage. Maybe throw the skeleton with the catacomb effect on it first.
And then you would be able to take out the evolved Lancer,
Mm-hmm.
or you could spend a skeleton on that.
Yep, I think spending the skeleton was the right choice. You don't really lose board control.
And you still get another skeleton.
Yep. Super efficient. Took down a 4 damage card. And the Evolve Orb. Evolve Orb sunk into it. 5 to the face.
This is interesting that Concussion has now got 5 full followers on the board. That's a lot of damage to deal with, but next turn, depending on what Auto Aim does, there's not really a huge way out of this that I can see, but Concussion won't be able to play Ector next turn and get the full effect out of that card if his board remains the same. Obviously, I think Auto Aim is going to evolve the Mage here and try to clear the board some, but that's just even that's going to work in Concussion's favor.
So, I don't actually know. You've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's no actual way to clear this board. Takes down the 4 damage. Yep.
I should have foreseen this.
I should have foreseen this. Goodbye, Auto Aim. That, you know, in some ways unfortunate. I would have loved to see how he got this far with the Runecraft and Swordcraft deck, but as fate has dictated, Dragoncraft and Shadowcraft is pretty good.
Yeah, I wish we could
That was
have
a
been...
pretty ideal game for Shadowcraft as well.
Oh, absolutely. Being able to get the huge, massive, efficient plays out of Prince Catacomb that early on, and maintaining a full board of followers.
I mean, you get that in 2 ways with Shadowcraft now. We all know how valuable something like Phantom Howl is, right? Being able to emulate that effect with Prince Catacomb, every single turn having all of those followers on board, plus things like Coco Mimi, Evolve points, it's just so much damage to face, and it happens all in an instant, right? Very hard to stop.
Still, Auto Aim making it this far with Daria in a sword deck. I wish we could have been a fly on the wall watching some of his earlier games.
Yeah, just watching.
Because, I mean, obviously he won. Obviously he's a very gifted player, being able to utilize those decks. Props to him. Way to go.
Way to go. Couldn't make it to the round of 4, but all the way to the round of 8, and gonna earn himself a few points here. Before we hop into the next game, just a little bit of a reminder. Shadowverse.nge.io will tell you everything you need to know about the tournament. You can find the broadcast schedule, figure out how to sign up, get the Battlefy link, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, if you want to interact, talk with us, tell us how much you hate our faces and guts at WatchNGE. I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to experience this, but it's happening.
Whether you like it or not, it's happening.
Oh my gosh.
And whether you like it or not, you're watching it happen. That's the
Oh, you actually like locked out the computer. They can't close the browser. I'm forced to watch this.
Hold their eyes open with those pliers. We're coming for you.
It's not good. All right, let's take a look at how the tournament is playing out so far. NGE Shadowverse Open. Ooh, look at that. Of course, we already saw Concussion versus Auto Aim. And we have a number of other players sitting ready and waiting. Care Package versus Exodium. Lil Nat versus Noah. Then the 7. I know you said the 7.
Interesting that we're not seeing Cure Mango or Ghost Bomb or Potwasher. The players that we saw last
Yes.
week do so well and make it so far. None of those players are back.
I think there's a lot of variance in the game, and I think that it's very difficult to fight your way up to the finals.
Mhm.
Mana Surge as a team has consistently made it there, amongst other teams that are joining the NGE Shadowverse Open. But it's a tough feat, I think, to be a repeat winner. We'll have to see if that ends up playing out. But we're going to be waiting just a little moment before hopping into the next round of 8 match to find out who will be joining Cure Mango as a champion of a weekly tournament at the NGE Shadowverse Open. Figure out who our second invite is. If you guys have been enjoying the broadcast so far, make sure you let us know. We'd love to see what people are talking about and saying, and even if it might be a little bit hurtful and harsh sometimes, it's okay. That was my high school life, the entirety of it. I'm used to it by now.
No comment. I'm just gonna give you a.
You were one of the people who contributed, probably. I imagine you in high school as being like that bully guy that was like super popular, and
I probably bullied like one person.
I've got him to
If I'm
admit,
being honest.
to that.
And we're friends now. We're friends now. True story.
Stockholm syndrome. You, wow, you just didn't even deny it was straight up Stockholm syndrome.
Pretty much.
My God.
So going in this next game, Care Package versus Exodium. I
It
love
is.
the opportunity that we're getting to see some new players here.
Mhm.
Really nice. And a lot more sword decks than I was ever expecting to see in a tournament this early into the release of Tempest of the Gods.
Yeah, so that's definitely been interesting. Would love to see more Forest Craft decks because I feel like that's the other area of investigation that can be very effective fighting against both Dragon and Shadow, and I feel like people have realized that just a little bit as we head into the first game in this particular match. Exodium. What a name. Exodium.
Judgment will rain down
Love
upon
to
you.
hear what Exodium has to say about his origins.
Care Package bringing us a Heavenly Ages deck
Oh my God.
with Guardian Sun too. This is.
All right, let's see what happens. I mean, to be fair, if there's anything Heavenly Aegis could be good at fighting, it's gonna be Dragoncraft.
You think so? I'm giving the favor to Dragoncraft.
All right, I'm taking bets on Care Package. You got Exodium. Care
got
Package
Exodium.
Care Package is my guy. Right now.
Well, so to be fair, in your favor, Exodium does not have many opportunities to ramp. He hasn't drawn Oracle. He hasn't drawn Aelia. He doesn't even have a 2-point follower in his hand. He does have Sybil, so on turn 5, that'll come down, followed by Grimnir before, and then Rahab. So he's got great 3 and 4 and 5 options.
that is an interesting point here, and it's just gonna really what that condenses down to is it's a race to see who's gonna reach that late game aspect first, and who's gonna consistently draw those late game options.
And I love Tribunal in this matchup. It's such a good card. Everybody knows that Ramp Dragon is going to go for that Grimnir on turn 3, that Rahab on turn 4. And that's just one follower that Tribunal does not have a problem clearing off the board. Not to mention, when it pops, that's another follower destroyed.
Yep. A good double-pointed value there. Gonna have to evolve the Rahab. Well, I don't know. Have to is strong language, but he does. And bids farewell. Oh. It's good that the tribunals are being played now, however, I think for Exodium. Because later on when the real heavy hitters come in, that tribunal as an option is going to be removed.
That's right, Care Package, really his only choice was to play those Tribunals that early.
Perhaps not necessarily for Grimnir, but certainly for the Evolve Rahab, I think that was incredibly valuable.
And not a great turn 6 for Care Package. He's got Priest of the Cudgel, but not going to do well against Sybil. And next turn, of course, it's going to put Exodium in overflow, gaining the 3 health at the end of his turn. So the damage that Care Package has been able to do is going to be completely mitigated.
Has to spend the evolve point. Doesn't do it. He's just gonna let it happen. Perhaps that's because he's just waiting for the tribunal.
That's right. Next turn, Tribunal's going to pop, and then the turn after that, the second Tribunal will pop, along with Sacred Plea, giving Care Package a few more options to play with in the 2 turns that follow.
What in the?
There it is. Gets some value out of Sybil.
These black wings are
Gets a
unbreakable.
storm.
It won't be
7
long now.
damage to face.
He's going to evolve it, even though he knows Tribunal's going to pop. It's going to be a 50-50 shot.
It's either gonna take down Forte or it's gonna take down Sybil.
Either way, Sybil gets the effect with the healing.
We'll see. Oh!
Goes for Sybil.
We'll keep 7 damage. That's actually really dangerous.
And he used Cudgel. That's a full turn that Care Package didn't even use.
Oh no.
What a momentum shift in the favor of Exodium.
Oh no. He's got another Forte in hand. Next
Guardian
turn.
Sun is on the field.
Oh god! Oh.
He still has Odin. Will Odin get Ward?
There's Storm. There's Storm on the board. He needs to have Ward. Guardian Sun, I think, is
Judge of
4
Retribution
defense.
will be able to banish. Forte, and he'll get Ward. That's nice. Still 6 health. And Bahamas is up next turn for Exodium.
Oh, Serpent King.
I think that's is that an Israfel?
It is Israfil.
I don't think there's necessarily a way for he's trying to play around Breath of the Salamander.
And Grimnir.
But I think there's no way for Exodium to end it this turn, so he's going to play the Bahama, and that's a huge amount of threat on the board.
Curate, that's going to be absolutely crucial, gaining that 5 health back.
Themis but is there a war? No. It's over. He had to, though, because, I mean, you're out of options, right?
Right.
Storm Dragon. Forte's pretty good. She's probably feeling pretty happy about herself.
My spear will
Yep.
stop you.
Forte, get off your high horse.
Your strength
Exodium's the real hero here.
Oh, man. You know, it's incredibly unfortunate. I feel like right when the most important turns were coming, there were no options in hand for
You're right, there just weren't any
for Care
options.
Package. And it was just that crucial turn, that play point 7 turn for Care Package where it was just nothing.
Ram Dragon was able to put on the pressure so early even and force Haven into a position where it just exhausted its options.
I think that, well, first of all, you were right. Fine. Dragoncraft
Bow
wins.
before me.
I don't know why I voted against Dragoncraft in the first place, but hey,
judgment will rain
attempt
down
number 2
upon
for Havencraft. I think this is just a situation that gets worse and worse. I mean, we've seen the fear that Shadowcraft aggro can put into the hearts of mere mortals.
And Care Package had to know that the deck was coming, yet he elected to stay on his Havencraft deck.
Ector, Mummy, and Skull Beast.
Really great 1 and 2 plays. We'll see if he can get the Catacomb Orthrus combo.
Skull Beast comes down. A fantastic 1 play point card. The 2 defenses actually incredibly annoying. And an early draw into Catacomb as well.
That's really great.
Man, I think the Shadowcraft players so far have just been getting such good lines of play.
But Guardian Sun is going to be absolutely crucial for the Havencraft player. All of the skeletons are going to have to chew through those wards that Radiance Angel is going to get next turn, and the Octobishop.
The saddest card in the game gets played, and it's not the Mummy. That's a different title. It's Zoe. Have you heard her voice lines?
No, I haven't. Is she super depressing?
You need to make sure you have chocolates ready. Make sure you have
a
plushies.
gallon of ice cream.
Yeah, a gallon of ice cream. Yeah. Yeah. All right. The shadows are a building. But, I mean, it's a fairly good board setup, I feel like, for Care Package so far. I feel like Care Package has had a solid first few turns and has gained good footing with Double Ward, Guardian Sun. Looking pretty good. And looking far into the future, you got Tribunals, you got Radiant Angel. I feel like you're pretty set. The only thing is you got to hope that you're starting to draw win conditions soon.
Right, and Exodium has got the Reaper in his hand. He could play that, attack into the 3/2,
He's
get
got
some
the
skeletons.
Necro Assassin plays as well.
Right.
There it is.
All my fault.
Did you hear that? It's all my fault, she said. No, it's not your fault. Necro Assassin is just kind of strong.
Great card. Although next turn, that Lion Spirit could do some massive damage with the Evolve point. Its Evolve ability, but that's just going to work in Exodium's favor with the skeletons coming out.
There it is.
Lend me your power, golden step.
Ancient Lion Spirit.
Yeah, it is going to take out the Necro Assassin. That 2 damage, absolutely great. So definitely the optimal play in this.
So he's been able to clear out the first Catacomb, but 7 shadows on the board, and more to come. We still have Ector in hand. Oh, gonna spend the shadows on the Soul Squasher, and I think that's a great play.
And I don't think enough can be said about how important Guardian Sun is in this matchup.
Oh my gosh, the Tribunal sniping the Shadow Reaper. He evolved
He's
it too.
evolving it anyway.
He's taking the risk.
It's
Risk it for the biscuit. All right, Care Package.
still, if you play Tribunal, that's the only card you're playing this turn.
Yep. Take the risk. Do it. Do it, Care
50-50.
Package. I won't. Okay.
Have some guts, man.
Care Package. We are very terrible players, but our expert analysis is play the Tribunal. Play it. Show me the money.
There it is.
Oh, no! Oh my God! This is why we're trash.
And there's Cerberus next turn.
This is why we're terrible. I'm so sorry. He definitely didn't listen to me, especially because this is 10 minutes in the future. Well, I suppose that doesn't really matter.
So if you're Exodium, would you play Cerberus or Phantom Howl? Both would be great
Yeah, both would do. I think Cerberus, and then that saves Phantom Howl because
for later.
yeah, because a Phantom Howl is a storm card, right? Install the Coco and Mimi first, and then play the Phantom Howl when you know you can get that killing blow. I think it's a better order of operations here. You got an Evolve point. You've got Phantom Howl. The opponent's on 9 health. It's real tough.
And Mimi in hand.
Yep. Mimi,
That's going to be
Evolve
9
point.
damage, even if you manage to completely clear the board. That's going to bring the
Yeah.
game to a close. But Radiance Angel and Grimnir, you can only play 1 or 2 Grimnirs. That's definitely going to mitigate this damage. It's not over yet. Care Package can still stay in this game.
Tribunal. Well, if he Tribunals, he's dead.
He could
I think
Grimnir and Tribunal.
Will that actually save him? Because the Cerberus will trade in. The Cerberus will stay up, so that means he doesn't get the extra ghost.
It's only 4
He gets
ghosts.
4, 6, 8. Oh, he didn't go for it.
Oh, and the Snake Priestess.
Oh, that's actually great. Will this save it?
Even if he evolves, he's not going to be able to take off
For defiling the
4, 6,
the
8,
Reaper.
Come one.
3. No. Oh God, look at how beefy. So if he plays the Phantom Howl to try to eliminate, if he throws 2 in there, he would need to throw another 2. No, he still can't reach lethal quite. Will Ector get him there? 2. Take that one. Oh my God, look how much damage he has. And he's getting more. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, that's lethal right there.
There's no stopping.
There's no stopping the Reaper.
There's no stopping the Reaper. My God, man. How impactful would that have been if the Tribunal, if it only had just taken out the Reaper? How impactful would that have been?
The one RNG moment of the game, and it does not work in the favor of Haven
The
Craft.
thing, too, is Exodium, or, Exodium actually even used a soul conversion and made it even more likely it could have been a 1 in 3. But he made it a 1 in 2. He said, you know what? I'm going to make
And he
it.
evolved it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
he
the best
evolved it
part.
early.
Come at me, bro, is basically what he was
Oh
saying.
my
there.
God. Oh my God. This is why though Tribunal is great, sometimes it is fodder for you to grab your mobile device and defenestrate said mobile device.
Hmm.
Exodia moves on.
To
Let's-
the semifinals.
Yeah, to the semifinals. Let's take a quick gander at the bracket to see where we stand here at the NGE Shadowverse Open. Week number 2, we have Exodia moving on, as well as Concussion. So they're one step closer to becoming champions, heroes.
Exodium is going to be going up against either Lil Nat or Noah. We've seen Noah play, and he's got a sword and a shadow deck that he's utilizing.
I think it's going to bring him far, but we've got EXG Lil Nat. And I have yet to see the decks that Lil Nat carries, but we will know. We will know in just a bit. MS Noah, I think, played very solidly, but I think when you're going up against opponents in this territory of the tournament, you're going to start facing players who are constantly swinging optimal and are making good decisions and are playing the appropriate mind games and taking the appropriate precautions or risks.
Come on.
So,
Coming right out of the gate with a shadow deck, Little Nat is going to be able to go first, which is it's much better than going second, at least for Shadowcraft. Shadowcraft wants to go first every single time. That's how it gets the best value out of its cards.
the TAG, Katana Unsheathed.
Little Nat opting to mulligan the Catacomb out of his hand. Very interesting. Usually we see players keep the Catacomb
Yeah,
at least.
he doesn't really
That's-
have a good 3-drop either,
Mhm.
so that's actually very interesting. And I mean, Catacomb is just a great card against any kind of matchup, but particularly against Swordcraft, I can't imagine that there would be a play that's
The
more
Tempo Soul
valuable.
Squasher is going to get destroyed by the whole sword swing. Really great value coming out from Noah.
Yeah. Alright. Oh my god, this thing is the mini Catacomb.
And with Orthrus available next turn for Little Nat.
This is God's
Gotta
word.
take down one of the skeletons. Just trying to keep pace with the board. And I think that's so important for Noah. Oh god.
Noah does have
Wouldn't.
Floral Fencer in hand for next turn if he wants to play that card. Really get that full board,
Strength and beauty together.
or 3 followers on the board.
You would
But he's only going to be able to clear one of the followers, and that's a Wind God next turn if Lil Nat wants to play that card.
Ironclad.
The Wind God. So, maintaining control, had to spend an Evo point. Oh, got another Orthrus. And that'll end the Floral Fencer right then and there.
We saw in the previous match with Noah that he was able to use Lil Soul Squasher to be able to get rid of his opponent's Floral Fencer as it evolved, but Lil Nat used his Soul Squasher for tempo on turn 2. So that option's obviously not available to him.
Yep. Save the Mummy. And I can kind of understand why, just because to play aggressive, I mean, I think that's kind of the better option, just in the sense that you have more storm opportunity, you have more face damage that you can throw onto your opponent.
Gotta take what opponents you get.
And for example, in this situation, you've been fighting so hard for board control, spending evolution orbs, but you're still not keeping up.
The battlefield awaits.
Novice Trooper. Maybe the Unica? Unica will give you a little more sustain.
Right.
Perhaps.
It won't be
Oh,
long
gotta
now.
evolve the Unica as well.
I can be graceful too.
I like this play from Noah. It makes Wind God not as effective as if Noah went for face, for example, and maybe played Maid Leader instead of Unica. That would have made and not have been able to clear the board as effectively. Wind God would not have been as effective.
Yeah. Gonna evolve.
The Dark
Evolve
Conjurer is going to be able to
Storm.
get the Ghost. That's going to take care of Unica. That is absolutely crucial as
Yeah.
well. Really great play.
Getting the 5 face damage is so important, right? Because you're getting closer and closer to that reach that you need. With the Wind God play, that's going to be a lot of damage. And then you're being threatened by Phantom Howl immediately after. Jay Leno takes down 4 of that damage, which is actually very important here. Every point of life matters. No evolve orbs left for Lil Nat, though.
Or Noah just used his last one right there, although we do know that he's running Luminous Mage in his deck, which is a free evolve point.
Doesn't quite have it. We'll have to kind of either top deck it or fish it out.
Right.
Has a Maid Leader in hand, but a 2-drop 1/1 at this point, I think is tough. It's risky, right? Of course, we know that in Noah's hand, at least so far, there's not really a more fantastic option. Everything is quite cheap.
And in Little Nat hand, kind of the same story. Wind God, Dark Conjurer would be a fine turn this game, but that's 2 cards out of the 3 cards that you have.
Opts to trade and gets rid of Orthrus.
Let's get into trouble. Grant me your power, O wind.
Commits the Wind God. No evolve orb, but there is a lot of storm on the board.
Welcome home.
Maid Leader out.
This is tough. Whole Sword Swing would get rid of the Dark Conjurer.
He could take down the Wind God by committing Whole Souled Knight and Novice Trooper.
Or Albert. 3 damage. That's the Dark Conjurer taken off the board right there. Still, Wind God, its effect will carry over for the next turn as well. So I think that's the target. That's the card that he wants to get rid of.
Probably going for it here. Gonna trade the card in first so that the Whole Souled will give another Knight. Oh, he goes for the Dark Conjurer.
The battlefield awaits.
Goes for face.
May
Alright,
the
Wind God buffing up one more time. No other followers on the board, so just 1 extra damage. He's got Storm on the Mummy. And I think that's 4 shadows, I believe, for that.
4 shadows, correct.
So then Phantom Howl would only spawn 3, which is technically fine if you wanted to go face. 6-8 damage if he commits the Phantom Howl.
I think being able to clear the board in this instance is what Lil Nat should do. I think that's the optimal play here. Trading the Mummy into the Novice.
You're getting really close to that turn 9 point, and with so little options in hand, Albert can be a real handful. Swings once
Absolutely.
with the Mummy.
We'll see what the top deck is next turn for Noah, but it looks
The
like
big
Albert
thing
is
is
going to be the play.
there's no ward in sight so far, and so if you put Noah in that dangerous territory, of course 7 normally would be a good number for Phantom Howl, but there's no Cerberus, neither is there an Evolution Orb. Oh god. And that decision by Little Nat, I mean, I think the decision was made when he swung face with the Mummy, but that could have been the turning point of the game. More face damage here.
I think he's deciding whether or not to trade into the Wind God, because next turn Wind God will be 4/4.
I think that's good. Take down the Wind God. There's no way your ward goes down now.
You know the options are limited for Lil Nat.
And if you survive one more turn, you've got swing for 2 and 2. You've got Albert to swing for 6. And you're pushing yourself ever closer to victory. The Skull Beast is not necessarily helpful.
No, he's been hanging on to Phantom Howl this whole time. It looks like he's going to have to drop it
He
to
can
be able
wipe.
to clear the ward.
He can board wipe here.
Completely clear the board. And get the Shadow, the Skull Beast on his field as well.
All right. And he will go for the trade.
And now that's only 1 Shadow on the side of Lil Nat.
Well, I think he's got. Oh my God!
Oh my gosh.
He's 2
double
turns.
Alberts.
It's a 2-turn timer.
He's going to go for face with both attacks.
Yep. And I think that's absolutely the right choice. Oh! What is that? That's 5 damage. No! He needs to get rid of the Albert.
That's what he needs to do. That'll get rid of the Albert, but in next turn, that's 6 damage that Noah will be able to do to face with the second Albert, if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah. He needs to get the Albert to live another turn because he can't get lethal now. You gotta do it. Don't misplay. Well, I guess it's not really a misplay because he doesn't really know what's in hand.
Mm-hmm.
He has to assume that there's another Storm card, which is very likely because just in the general sense, Storm for 2 is not that rare.
It could be.
I don't know how many Novice Troopers he's seen being played.
Noah could have Tsubaki in hand, or maybe Aurelia. That would be a nasty card to deal with.
It could be a number of anything, or it could be a Maid Leader.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
face
no! Oh no!
and keeping Mini in
Oh
hand.
no!
Sky Knights, prepare for battle.
Oh
That
no!
was
And
a-
he took the risk. There's no way for Little Nat to know. He just had to either choose to take the risk, or play the safe option and perhaps wait for another top deck. But
So good on Little Nat for taking the risk.
What a
Real
decision.
tough decision, yeah.
what a decision to make! Oh my gosh, Lil Nat falling behind 1. Noah's 1 step away from joining.
Concussion. He'll be against
Yeah,
Concussion in the
Concussion.
semifinals if Noah is able to take this 2-0.
Is it Concussion or Exodium?
It's Concussion.
It's Concussion. Exodium. You know what? We'll find out in just a bit after this match. But
Actually, no. You're wow. I was
Exodium.
totally wrong. Yeah, it was
yeah,
Exodium.
I think
Yeah.
it's Exodium.
When I'm wrong like that, you got to tell me.
Well,
Mother.
I like seeing you wrong on broadcast.
He likes watching
so,
me squirm.
To be fair, when you mentioned it, I was like, "Am I wrong?"
Both of us wait.
Oh my gosh. You're a bad influence.
Oh, I know. What a draw from Noah.
Going
Skullbeast,
second and
Spar
having
Toy,
the one play point play.
and Catacomb and Orthrus.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3, 4. That is, dare I say, the perfect hand.
That is what we call the old Sesame Street.
The old.
The old Sesame Street.
Don't even know what that means.
That's the counting right there. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know,
Nice.
he doesn't have the 5. To be fair, he's just got the 1, 2, 3, 4.
But Immortal Thane, I absolutely love this card. We didn't see it so much last week, but this week, I really want to see Noah make use of that card. Summon it, it gets 2 whites on its side of the
Oh
field.
God, that does not feel good.
No, the 3-drop empty board of Catacomb.
That feels just about like an Ancient Elf on 3. And even Ancient Elf on 3 is better than Catacomb just...
And no one knows that he's clearing the board, and he's got his own Catacomb with its full effect, having 3 followers to buff up.
Yep. Orthrus available as well, so no matter almost any option that Lil Nat plays here is just going to get shut down. And you don't have the Evolution Orb.
That's right.
It's
Noah's
it's
going to
looking
have the
really
first
bad.
Evolution Orb next turn with his Orthrus combo.
There it is, the Goblin. Okay. I kind of...
Setting up for a few turns later down the road. I buy it. I believe that.
Now, he does have a Phantom Howl, but they get banished instead of destroyed. Oh, God. Of course, the Orthrus.
Noah smells blood in the water. He's evolving his Catacomb to go right for face this turn. Another
Got
6
the
damage.
5-drop as well. He just drew Cerberus.
Mm-hmm.
He's just gotten to play it. Noah's playing the game. Lil Nat's sitting here, and he's not able to play the game.
Little Nat definitely reacting to what Noah is throwing on the board.
Cerberus, he needs to get some kind of board control here.
Having an evolved Cerberus with 2 health is going to be nice, but it's not going to stop the amount of damage you're going to take next turn.
Has to pass. Don't have the play points. Is he going to trade the skeletons in? Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at it go. Oh my God!
And that's a
Oh
second,
my God!
A second Reaper.
Oh no! I've seen this once before.
I've seen this in my nightmares.
I've seen this once before. There's nothing in hand that can save you. You're dead. Yep.
Yeah, that's 5 damage from the Reapers, plus
There's
an evolve
nothing.
point, 7. That's lethal right there.
Oh my God. Gave him the old double Shadow Reaper.
The old double Shadow
The
Reaper,
old
the
double
stuff of
Shadow Reaper.
nightmares.
Yeah. Shadow Reaper comes for you in the nighttime
Hmm.
and deals more and more damage. That was picture perfect for Noah. I mean, slightly ashamed that there's one play point left there, but every single turn value drops.
That was an absolute pleasure to witness. Shadowcraft at its finest.
Yeah. Wow. Alternatively, on the side of Lil Net, you can't get more unfortunate than that.
Still, that's going to be Noah going up against Exodium in the semifinals.
Mhm.
It's going to be a really great match. Exodium, he's got his dragon and his sword decks. We'll see how those can
Mhm.
stack up against the Shadow deck.
All right, here's a moment of truth. Were we correct? Take a look at the brackets. I think it was Exodium. I'm pretty sure that's what that was.
Yeah. Yeah.
The anticipation is killing me. Let's go ahead and look at. Yep, there it is. Oh, got it. Phew.
Exodium versus MS Noah.
We'll just
Concussion?
edit that out in post.
Right, in post.
in
Live
post.
broadcast for post.
All right, Tramps versus the Seventh. The Seventh. That's actually really hard to. The Seventh.
The 7th?
The Seventh. The Seventh.
I think it's not that hard to say. The 7th.
I keep wanting to say the Seventh.
The 7th.
The Seventh.
It's not. We're not like French here. The 7th.
Say that again.
The 7th.
That's good.
Oh, thanks.
That's good. Is that good? I don't know. I'm totally.
I think it's great.
not European.
It's
so.
totally perfect
Uh huh.
in every way.
Did you study any French?
No, I actually don't speak any French, the language.
Do you speak
Like-
any other languages? Actually, I've never asked you this question.
I used to
before.
be fluent in Greek, actually.
Huh.
I'm being honest. I lived there for a while, and
Huh.
I forgot like everything, and
Huh.
I could never write it. Writing was tough,
Huh.
but I could speak and read it very slowly. So
That's kinda cool.
fluent's the wrong word to use there.
Fluent
it's
is
not, it's not fluent.
Yeah,
that's not
that's
fluency.
not- That's not what fluent means.
Yeah.
Not what fluent means. But that's kind of cool. That's still cool.
Yeah.
I actually think multilingual people are always very interesting. All right, let's take a
Mhm.
look at the last round of 8 match we have here.
The
will
winner
move
of
on?
this series is going to be going up against Concussion.
Mm-hmm.
Really great
Concussion.
match, and we're going to be able to see what decks they're running and be able to talk about that momentarily.
Mm-hmm. I think that so far it's been Shadowcraft getting. Well, to be fair, in the last game it was Shadowcraft Mirror. And
Right.
whereas all the games before, I feel like Shadowcraft was just having very consistent good draws in the early game.
Mhm.
Maybe there's one situation where you would say that, oh, that wasn't a good draw.
And the
but-
story of the day has been Swordcraft
Mhm.
hanging on by the skin of its teeth. I really want to see Swordcraft in the finals. I want to see Swordcraft win it.
Win it. Win it, please. Albert deserves a win.
And these haven't been Gwaine decks. These
Mhm.
these have been decks that we might have seen last season.
Yeah. I think, especially the influx of Genos, the Quick Bladers, well, Katana Unsheathed, to be fair. Do people look at those as different cards? I feel like Katana Unsheathed is a better version, but they're the same stats.
But
The
you can't.
cooler
They're
version.
essentially the same card. You can't have
Yeah.
6 of
Yeah.
them in your deck, for example.
Would there ever be a situation where you would ever want 6? I don't feel like there's a good reason to do that.
Maybe with Pompous Princess, really getting
Yeah, just Pompous Princess.
6 of those drops. If you have 6 of them, being able to play 3 of them, and then 3 Pompous Princess grabbing out the other 3. That's the only thing I can think of where maybe that could be a thing, but no, I don't, it's not very good.
Yeah, somehow I'm not making the connections in my brain here.
No.
Well, one day, maybe for the maybe for a fun deck segment. I wonder how much you can get away with. You could probably get away with a ton, actually, to be fair, on ladder.
Mhm.
What is the craziest deck to run right now in your mind?
We talked about Vagabond Frog.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does pretty well on ladder because it's something that Ram Dragon has such a hard time dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the time. In
The-
my own meandering experience, Vagabond Frog does pretty well against Storm Dragon.
Take 4 amulets, 1 vagabond frog.
And
Make it
then
happen. Record it.
Make it happen.
Tweet it to me. I want to see 4 amulets, 1 vagabond frog. Make it happen.
A deck that I really like, though, is, and I think it does pretty well in ranked ladder, is it's an aggro Runecraft Earthright deck
Mm-hmm.
really well. There's a lot of the new Earthright cards utilize early damage, whereas Earthright in the past we've saw it with Taboos and Junos. It's a lot of late cards and
Mhm.
Calamitous Curse, great cards,
Mm-hmm.
but that's heavily utilized toward the late game. Where Runecraft Earthright typically just doesn't play. It's just trying to clear the board, get to the late game, play those heavy cards. But the new cards really utilize it in the early game, being able to do aggressive damage right to face.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
It's going to be SP Mart and the 7th.
You must die.
Swordcraft into Shadow. Another Swordcraft deck.
Attendant of Night.
Animated, too.
Nice.
What a great card. I love Attendant of Night. Really great value playing it on 3rd and then being able to play Necro Assassin on turn 4. He's going to mulligan all 3 of them, along with the Orthrus.
He's got a bunch of 2-drops here.
Charmed.
Both players all have completely 2-drops in their hands. How funny is that?
It
Again,
really
more
seemed
2-drops.
Oh my god! And all the sergeants.
All
Every
the animated
single
sergeant.
sergeant exists. They all showed up, but the superior just was late. The superior slept in.
Mhm.
All the sergeants were like, "We're here." The superior was like,
Ready to go.
"Ready to go,
He
sir."
slept in.
Damn it! Oh, the zombie party. That's my favorite card. Zombie party sounds like a ton of fun.
Sounds awful. I do not want to have my flesh eaten off by a party of zombies. Is that what you would call a group of zombies?
Yeah,
party?
like
A murder of crows,
Yeah,
a pride of
murder of
lions,
crows.
party of
a
zombies.
party of zombies. I mean, it doesn't sound too bad, right? A party
No,
of
I'd
zombies.
buy it. Someone told me, they're like, yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah, sure. Whole souled swing. The veteran lancer maintains. All right, there's still just 2-drops everywhere, and I was hearing some community members talk about it, and they really feel like in Tempest of the Gods, 1-drops actually became a little devalued just because getting that early advantage oftentimes was healed up in the context of like elf or dragon decks.
Almost works up to the bone.
Or just in general, that one play point card just didn't matter enough in the grand scheme of things because you could ramp up to so much stronger situations that you may as well put stronger cards in your deck that can rival that strength. And having the 1-drops bog your deck down and weigh it down with kind of less effective cards was actually hurtful.
The 7th is going to have the first evolve point on this turn. He could Shadow Reaper, Spartaway Sergeant, maybe clear the ward with the zombie party.
You would need to choose one or the other. So he's got the Shadow Reaper down. There's the Evolve. He's going to take down the Veteran Lancer. This is the last of the Sergeants, by the way. The other 2 wandered off and died like lemmings.
Aw.
This one is the last Sergeant. We'll make a movie about that.
The Final Sergeant. Sounds like a movie title. Not going to
Yeah.
last long, though. Luminous Mage. Definitely the optimal play here. Being able to save those evolution points is absolutely crucial. We've talked about this many, many times. He's got Albert in hand, so he knows that's a turn 9 option.
Does Lyriel have fangs? It kind of looks like... Oh, no, she doesn't. She has normal teeth. Okay. I thought they just put fangs on her just to...
Just cuz.
Yeah, just because. Thankfully, no.
My wings are killing me.
Oh,
If that could have targeted the Shadow Reaper, that would have been.
yeah. I think
Absolutely brutal.
It's a targeted, though. So
Yeah,
while
ambush.
the Shadow Reaper is hiding in his
Mhm.
shadows, in the safety of his darkness, there's no way for Lyriel to reach.
Well, Soul Squasher, he's got 4 shadows on hand. That'll leave him with 2.
And that's why Elfchild is sick, by the way.
Souls, they're so
Elfchild is great. Goodbye.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What do you have inside?
There it is.
So that's how it's done.
So that's how it's done. That is how
Welcome
it's
to
done,
the
indeed.
party.
Yep.
Bye-bye to your life.
It's a skeleton party now, not a zombie party.
A skeleton party,
This is the end.
and the skeletons eventually become zombies. How does that work? If you don't have any flesh on you anymore, and you become a zombie, you're just a skeleton, right?
Right.
You're just an animated, fleshless body.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, that's the only difference between being a skeleton or being a
It's
zombie.
like flesh exists, flesh does not exist.
And somehow having flesh gives you an extra attack point and an extra defense
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I don't know. Logic was certainly a primary goal for Shadowverse, though. So, in their failing in this aspect, I feel like I have to write a letter to them.
A very strongly worded letter.
You and I, knight.
Luminous Mage is pretty good.
Sword brings hope.
We've talked about this card a number of times now today.
Turn the
Let's see how
power
it's
of
going
hope
to
to
be
light.
employed here. Shadow Reaper, of course.
Definitely want to get that off the board as soon as you can. But that was the whole turn for SP Mart.
Yeah.
And the 7th has another Catacomb in his hand right now if he wants to use that. Death's Breath would have been nice, but he doesn't have 6 shadows, so that's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously Prince Catacomb, I think, in this instance, is the right choice to make. He doesn't have 4 shadows unless he wants to trade in the skeleton and gain that last shadow. So little Soul Squasher could take care of that mage real quick if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah. And this is one of the benefits, too, of a Luminous Mage. Kind of in the same vein of a Unica, just kind of an upgrade version. It's a card that you really, I mean, similar with other cards like Shadow Reaper. It's kind of a card that you see it and you say, I don't want that to stay. Because another turn of it, just even one more turn of it, gives you so much value because of those free evolves. So, having to trade into it, I think, is going to be pretty important. There it is.
And he still has enough orbs left to play Prince Catacomb and have a full board.
Oh, look at all those skulls. Definitely the bad guys, I feel like.
Very much so.
When you got that many skulls, you just have to wonder. Probably fighting for the wrong side.
Probably a little evil.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit. We're on 7 play points now, and got a bunch of Alberts.
Maidleen are probably going to get another Albert in the hand of
Oh,
SP
Luminous
Mart.
Mage.
It's going to be a
She can
Luminous
play it,
Mage. He could play it.
but I feel like there's no evolution orbs. If you take down the Soul Squasher, you've got 3, 4, 6, 7 damage.
It all ends here.
And that's still a full board that SP Mart is going to have to chew through eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that double effect on the Catacomb. Summoned 2 skeletons, but one of them got lost.
Advantage. Good move from SP Mart.
Oh, it's just a Skull Beast. Zombie Party? No.
So the 7th is going to be able to clear the board if he wants to, and also
He can just
do
trade
some
every
damage to
single
face.
1/1 card there.
Yep.
And do 5 damage. And that puts SP Mart in a very awkward situation, actually.
Mm-hmm. On turn 8, he's not going to be able to get the full effect from Albert.
You wouldn't.
And that's a massive amount of pressure that the 7th is putting on this game.
Let's see. What is the choice here?
He went ahead and attacked with his 3 cost, or 3 damage, 2 damage followers.
He's thinking a lot. And I almost wonder what options SP Mart could possibly have in hand. Perhaps something like some kind of ward, flooding the table with wards. What is a consideration for what he's playing around?
He could
I'd
have
love to know.
Paladin in his hand. That gives a lot of 1/1 wards on the field. Although that's not a card we've seen at all today, and it's not a card we typically see in mid-range sword decks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's too bad that we don't see the card because that card would be great in this situation.
Apologies, sir.
It's going to come down to this
2
top
turns
deck,
away
yeah.
from Albert. So, in that sense, I mean, that's not really... 13 health is fairly healthy.
Mhm.
It's doable, right?
Mhm.
Come turn 9, you're going to be worried, but it's doable, especially when SP Mart is sitting on 1 evolution orb.
Having the ward from Grimnir is going to be the one thing that can save him from taking full damage because as far as SP Mart is concerned, the 7th could have Cerberus in his hand or Phantom Howl, and clearing the board just gives more options.
He's risking it.
He's risking it for the biscuit.
Yep.
Another Prince Catacomb. No! Ooh.
Yeah, it's over. The zombie party. Wow. SP Mart chose not to clear the board, and I think this is the second time we've seen a player decide to go for the risk. Just assume that there was not the option to make the kill happen. I mean, he was playing with a 1 health window, right? You imagine if all 3 of your 1 damage cards throw themselves into Grimner, you've got 5 damage, 6 health, 1 health left. That's not a very wide range. I mean, 1 health is pretty easy to come by.
And even in that instance, if SP Mart had cleared the board, I think that he still would have had lethal. I think he still would have been able to close the game out next turn. Being able to clear the ward with Zombie Party, it would have been it would have been tough. It would have been a tough call to make.
Yeah. So they will take the game and get 1 step closer to the round of 4, and 1 step closer to winning prize. The prize. Of course, at the end of this all, first place winner gets the invite to the playoffs, where that's where you will make
This one's for my
the
family.
cash earnings.
Prepare for defeat.
SP Martin the 7th right now. In a struggle, there it is. Bloodwolf is it the deck that we talked about. Belphegor, Razorclaw, Bloodwolf. Really the telling thing is if there's Mask, Genesis Dragon as well. This guy's
We'll see if the
Storm.
7th can draw Oracle next turn.
Urius is interesting here.
Typically, that was a card we saw a lot in the Forest Bat decks. It's one of, I mean, I think it's a great card, especially against Swordcraft. Some card that a card that's gonna want to flood the board with followers. Even aggro Sword, that card would be great against it. Being able to do 1 damage to your leader every time you summon a follower.
There it is, the Bloodwolf. 2 to himself, 2 to the face.
He's got some ramp available to him with Aelia. He's going to want to keep the board as clear as he can, trading into the Bloodwolf. Definitely the right decision to make. The next turn, he's got Rahab.
Oh, he's got the Dark Air Jammer as well. So he's really playing that combo that we talked about with the synergy of Dark Air Jammer and the 2 drops for Bloodcraft.
And Belphegor being able to put your own leader on Vengeance.
And draw 2 cards. 4 for 4/4.
He's going to be able to evolve, trade into the Rahab next turn. If that's
And that's
with the
actually
7th.
really important. Being able to remove the Rahab on the turn after is actually a really big benefit. It's the easiest way to guarantee that you kind of clear out the area. And this is looking like a very similar deck. You've got Dark General as well.
And the damage from the Bloodwolves, you're already damaging yourself 2 each turn. So playing Belphegor, it doesn't do as much damage to yourself.
You're already committing that health. So Belphegor Evolve takes down the Rahab.
And now the pressure's on because Belphegor has done
6.
all that damage.
Yep. Very aggressive, and I think it was a great opener for the Bloodcraft player as well. Another wolf, maybe?
I'm powerless for now.
Oh, got the 1/4 ward. Spiderweb Imp. And that's really gonna... I feel like that's gonna slow down Dragon here. He's not quite at turn 8, so he doesn't have Ouroboros. You know, this is a really awkward situation. Draconic Fervor, he's gonna have to pass.
Dragon Emissary will get a follower in his hand. Sahakiel going to be taken down to 6. Not the best. I really love when Dragon Emissary brings Israfil into hand because then you have a Zell Israfil combo that you can pull off.
This is the one turn that SP Mart has to make a big impact here and try to take tempo of the game. Next turn, 9 play points for the 7th, and he's going to start playing high-value followers.
He knows that Bahamut's not going to come out next turn, or Lightning Strike, so he's really trying to put on the pressure as much as he can right now.
And I definitely agree with his choice.
Evolving, going for face as much as he can.
This Bloodcraft deck might have just barely swung into tempo.
A really difficult position for Dragoncraft to be in. He's got Ouroboros, Sahakiel, if he wants to do that. But that's only 1 follower off the board.
And remember, because Vengeance is available, it's very easy just to remove the Ouroboros and save yourself that 8 damage and then keep swinging for face. Dragon Oracle. He can't play Ouroboros anymore. Has to play some combination of Blazing Breath and Grimner, I think, to keep himself safe. Maybe pulling in with Sahakiel, but even then you don't have great
And with Storm in the hand of SP Mart, I think SP Mart is going to be able to take this.
Sahak Evolve will allow you to take down 2 followers. One of them is going to have to be the ward and probably 4 damage for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So you've still got 3, 6, 9, 11 damage. So you need to play the ward. I don't think there's a way out.
Mm-mm.
What a fantastic 6 play point turn.
Yeah.
On the
Showing
side of
us,
SP Mart.
and we saw that this deck, this Bloodcraft deck, was able to take first place in the JCG.
It's a little bit different here.
We didn't see Soul Dealer,
Yeah.
but a consolation prize, that card would have been really nice. But Belphegor was able to put him in the exact position that he needed to be in.
The concept was very similar. That self-damage aggro element to it. 2 Blood Wolves right at the start, and then gaining such good defensive capabilities with that 1/4 and dropping the Dark Air Jammer, just getting a lot of value because you get that second drop as well, and then you also could play the Urias.
Yeah, that is not the outcome I would have predicted at all, especially for Ram Dragon for what we've seen so far. Although, going ahead, this Blood deck is now off the table. Both players are going to be going back to their secondary decks. It is now the final game between SP Mart and the 7th. 1-1. It's going to be Dragon against Swordcraft.
Swordcraft.
Really going to have to
There's
give...
a possibility for us to see a ton of Swordcraft decks in the Final 4 here. Maybe, well, I don't know if a ton is the way, but maybe half, right? At least 50%.
At least half. At least one deck. At least one deck in the semifinals. I'm going to have to give the advantage to the 7th with this Ramp Dragon deck. He's got 2 Alias in hand, which is great ramp. He might want to save this Zell for the Evolve combo later in the game, but gaining tempo is, I think, really important against Swordcraft because that's exactly what the Swordcraft player is going to want to do. Next turn, he's got whole Sword Swing. That's kind of giving SP Mart the position he wanted to be in.
Yes, absolutely. He's got a second whole Sword Swing as well, available and ready to go. He can swing for 1 and maybe storm with the Novice Trooper. Just keep adding pressure up. Worked out in the last round for SP Mart, but I think this time around the 7th has gotten a much better footing on the match. And he's not playing against a Bloodcraft deck, so...
He could choose to ramp twice this turn with Oracle and Aelia trading into the Novice. And, well, he could use Breath of the Salamander after Oracle, but, you know, clearing that with a Knight, not the best thing. I think he's going to just end his turn right here, yep.
So, quickly, the 7th is going to go up to 7 play points.
And he's going to have Overflow next turn.
And
SP Mart knows that.
Mart
He's
is
going to
having
evolve
to-
the Knight, yeah.
The big issue here is in terms of efficiency, SP Mart is having to float too. And that's absolutely not okay against Dragon. You need your curve to work out real well.
Can't keep relying on you, Dragon.
But the hand from the 7th, there's not a lot of draw options. He doesn't have another Oracle to draw a card because he's an Overflow. He doesn't have Draconic Fervor for healing. And SP Mart was able to already put on 6 points of damage, and SP Mart already has a full hand of Tsubaki, Fangblade, Alwidas. Although there's not a great turn 5 for SP Mart unless he's able to draw into Albert or Luminous Mage, for instance.
Right. Removes a Knight from the board. Unica can remove the Evolved Follower or Whole Souled Swing. Play a second Unica? Definitely should have played the Whole Souled Swing first, and then the Unica to get the extra Knight.
Would have gotten the extra Knight. I think he had a bit of a misplay there. Still, going for face is absolutely crucial. SP Mart smells blood in the water, and he's going for as much damage as he can.
A play point is going to activate Lucifer, or he can draw for more options here.
Draconic Fervor and then playing Grimnir. I love that turn. Lucifer would be great, being able to heal for 4, but that's still a 4/4 and a 2/2 follower on the side of SP Mart.
SP Mart did a good job pushing the 7th's health down to 10 without a Sybil, and it just less healing options in general, I think the Draconic Fervor Grimner would be I think it could be justified in that sense.
And
The
it's still early
Lucifer
enough.
Evolve can wipe the 2 Unicas
That's true. And you're still
and
gaining a ramp.
1
Right.
and do damage, 4 damage to SP
I
Mark.
think those are the 2 options at the 7th.
But
is
then
thinking
you've got
about right now.
Fangblade Slayer, but oh man, SP Mart's only on 5 play points.
And the Tsubaki next turn will be able to take out the Lucifer.
Yes.
That's crucial. Gotta remember that.
Tsubaki, Alwidas.
Tsubaki or Alwida's next turn could be coming out for SP Mart.
He's gonna go for Favor Grimner.
Hmm.
Is he gonna try to go for Dragon Emissary? I hope not. Gonna ramp.
I've got to take a break.
Removes with Salamander.
Wanted to get rid of the 4 damage that he was inevitably going to
Oh,
be
there's
taking.
Albert with Rush. Is that the play? Or Alwida's for the Rush will do 3 damage as well and give you slightly more board control.
And give you a ward. Now
Yep.
that's 3 followers that the 7th is going to have to chew through next turn. He's got Genesis Dragon,
Yeah.
but with the ward to chew through,
Grimnir
and
to do 4
Grimnir,
will
of course,
wipe.
Grimnir do 4 will wipe the board. That's definitely going to be the most efficient play, I think.
Yes, to defend
Considering that
yourself
Tsubaki is in hand as well. The 7 doesn't know that.
Mhm.
But Lucifer or Genesis Dragon, yeah, kind of meh plays. But the Grimnir,
There it is. A good choice there. I mean, Grimnir continues to justify himself in this expansion as kind of a almost in all situations bring card.
that's how it's done.
Geno.
Weapon at the ready, youngling.
Genu.
Janu. Jano? Do you know about that?
End me now. Alright, there's still a handful of options. You're in this weird space now where the next turn there's 8 drops, you can Fangblade Slayer, but you may also want a Tsubaki, but then you're going to flow orbs.
Right. And it's a real difficult place to be in for Dragoncraft. It seems kind of tempting to want to get the Genesis Dragon on the field, but you've got to know that you'd be playing right into the Swordcraft player's hand with Tsubaki.
Yeah. And you have to know, I think the unevolved Lucifer at some point should go down because if you can't end this in 2 turns, then Albert will end you.
Absolutely. And you've already got an unlucky Dragon Emissary with picking up Draconic Fervor, as opposed to a much higher value card like Israfil. With 1 evolve point left, I would not.
Oh my gosh.
I would hate to see him waste the evolve point on the Dragon Warrior.
On a tied match here.
Coming down to the wire. Playing the Draconic Fervor into the Dragon Warrior was great. Clearing the board, clearing that 4 damage, and then being able to tack into one of the knights.
I think that's a pretty good choice.
Not enough damage for Tsubaki to be able to help, but Fangblade Slayer.
I think Fangblade with 2 into the follower. Yep. There it is. Attacking into the follower and then a knight to the face.
And the 7 still hasn't drawn Bahamas. That's absolutely crucial in this matchup as well. Being able to clear the board would definitely swing the momentum in the 7's favor, but he
doesn't quite have the option. And we were kind of talking about it, how Lucifer, I felt like, was being phased out of the meta a little bit. And certainly in this situation, it's just so, like, where do you fit Lucifer in?
Right.
You know?
You could. It does have great value with Sahaquiel.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've seen it on the most. You only have Lucifer if you have Sahaquiel. But in this instance, being able to trade Lucifer into Fangblade Slayer or the Knight, it's a really difficult situation. You want to get rid of that Fangblade Slayer because next turn he's going to be able to clear whatever follower you put on the field and being able to do damage to the face.
You need to heal up or you need to ward, right?
But even if he were to put the 2 Rahabs on the field, like he could, that's still an easy follower that Fangblade's going to be able to put out. And, newsflash, there's a second Fangblade Slayer in the hand of SP Mart. Words are tough.
The Fangblade Slayer I mean, the 8 and 9 combo is proving to be so strong for Swordcraft players today. He's gonna Sahak Will. Lucifer heal up to 11. Trade with a Fang Blade.
But he's not going to be able to heal up.
Mm-hmm.
Clearing the board, though. Really great play there.
It's done. That Bane.
That Bane, there it is. Albert in hand.
It all
Enhanced Evolve.
That was such an interesting outcome
Swordcraft triumphing over Ramp Dragon.
in the late game as well. And you have to chalk some of that up to the 7th not getting the options that it would need, because certainly those options exist in the deck. And I almost wonder the only way to have had that work would have been if you played double Rahab.
Mm-hmm.
I think you would still get beat out because then you would get, because there's no evolve orbs, right? So the Rahabs would just be played and then pass turn. Evolve a Fang Blade, you're at 7 health, 5 damage, play a Fang Blade, 3 damage, you're dead.
Mm-hmm. Right. So either way, SP Mart really coming in clutch in that final series.
What a good example of why Fang Blade has been so popular with the Swordcraft decks we've seen come through. And I mean, just in general, it's been just such a great card because the Rush is essentially a storm, you know, unless there's no followers on the field, which is unlikely at that stage
It's
in the game.
Storm, but you're also able to. It is Rush.
Yeah.
It's essentially Storm because you're able to
Yeah.
do damage directly to face based on your
Exactly.
attack damage, and get rid of a follower, no matter what.
And that Bane, twice in a row, I feel like that little interaction of the Bane being able to take down the follower with a high defense value, and have that Night Swing for 1. Those small differences make everything change.
It's
right?
such a high value card, and I think it's the answer that the players have been looking for. For what do we do about Ram Dragon? What do we do about these strong cards?
A great display of the strength of Swordcraft in general. We finally made it to the semifinals. Let's get a recap of who exactly that consists of. Exodium and Noah are going to be facing on the upper end of the bracket, and on the lower end, Concussion versus SP Mart. A handful of Swordcraft decks, a bunch of Shadowcraft decks.
Shadowcraft decks.
And I think the last one is a Dragoncraft deck.
And we've also got a Blood deck, SP Mart.
Oh, yes.
He was able to take that away from the Ram Dragon.
Yes, that's right. So we actually have a kind of a great diversity here.
What I really want to see is the Blood into the Shadow. I want to see how that matchup's going to work.
The interesting thing to think about is Forestcraft has not appeared a single time, I don't think. So, just some things to think about in the second week of the NGE Shadowverse Open. Would like to take this moment to remind you guys, shadowverse.nge.io, to figure out anything you would want to know about schedules, about how to sign up for the tournament, about finding the Battlefy links. Of course, social media at WatchNGE. Talk about the outcome today. The incredible outcome of the semifinals featuring so many different classes, and definitely, whereas I feel like Dragoncraft and Shadowcraft have been the most seen, an interesting mix of decks being chosen for the 2 decks that these players have to represent with. That being said, we're going to go for a slight breather, take a little bit of a break, and when we come back, the NGE Shadowverse Open continues in the semifinals. Welcome back to the NGE Shadowverse Open. We've had an interesting, very interesting second week here.
Right, not at all what we would have predicted.
I'm Rainy, of course.
And I'm Sterling.
I think that upon arriving at the semifinals, these 4 players here have brought each their separate flavor of decks. And so, in just a moment, we'll be able to take a look at some of those decks and see what is being fielded and what will hopefully take one of these players to the finals and earn him or her a spot in the playoffs, the NGE Shadowverse Open.
So in the first semifinals match, we have Exodium and Noah. And we know that Exodium has a drag shadow combination and Noah has a sword shadow combination. So both players running shadow.
Which seems to be like the more successful, I think, deck of this particular tournament. Let's take a look at Exodium's particular Shadowcraft deck and see if there's anything in particular that stands out. I feel like most of the Shadowcraft decks have just been, I mean, you know, the Shadow Reaper, Soul Squasher.
He's got Lurching Corpse. That's not a card we see too often.
And then the Attendant of the Night was the other thing, but he mulliganed both of those. I wonder, I wish I had the insight to understand what particularly the Attendant of the Night would do.
Right.
And of course, he's got that Erd Necro Assassin, you know, the
Right. We see Erd 100% of the time, Necro Assassin 100% of the time, Attendant of the Night maybe half the time. Players will run that card.
And then finishing out his deck, Orthrus, a big card that's been getting so much value today. And Phantom Hal, I think included in every single Shadowcraft deck. Cerberus, very popular. Finishing it out with Demon Lord Ector.
Electing to go for 2 Ectors, or 3 Ectors, excuse me, instead of 2 Ectors and maybe an Immortal Thane. I think having both of those cards gives you some more options to play with when it comes turn 7. Because Demon Lord, of course, gives you the buffs for your followers. But the Thane, it allows you to get whites on the field. Not to mention a really strong follower as well.
Let's quickly take a look at the Dragoncraft deck being fielded here for Exodia. And it's going to be, I think, fairly standard here. Windreader Zell, Dragon Oracle, Breath of the Salamander, and getting the Grimner, which has been so fantastic for the duration of the expansion.
Absolutely. Grimnir, Rahab as well. Really strong wards that players have to play with in the early parts of the game for keeping themselves alive.
Sybil, of course. I feel like this list is fairly standard. I can't remember if this was a particular list that was holding Zeus maybe towards the higher end there. The high play point cards is an interesting option. We've seen both Genesis Dragon and Zeus. It seems like Israfil and then Bahamut.
And Lightning Blast, we haven't seen Lightning Blast played one time this whole day.
I think Lightning Blast is such... It's a card that I think is actually super situational just because everybody is so aware that it exists. So the fact that we haven't actually seen it played is not too particularly surprising to me. So what are the decks that... we've got Dragon Shadow...
And Noah has Sword and Shadow. So both players have a Shadow deck, but this mid-range Sword deck.
Let's take a look at Noah's Shadowcraft deck, see if there's any notable differences. I think that the typical Shadow decks, they all have the important pieces, and it's really just your choice what you kind of swap in to kind of assist your main win condition, or win conditions, I feel like, for Shadowcraft sometimes.
He's got Grimnir, which is interesting because typically you really want to reserve that 3 play point for either Bone Chimera or Prince Catacomb, whatever you draw. I like that he's giving himself options for the third curve, but look at the curve. He's got 15 2-point followers. That's way more than we saw what Exodium had.
And of course, this time around, Goblin Princess, which has been seeing quite good returns just because of how many shadows it spawns if you're trying to wipe everything, and then you're rewarded with a 5/5 there. Immortal Thane, I don't think we've seen played today.
No, we haven't seen played at all. We've seen Ector, because a lot of the Shadow players have been able to play well enough to where they get a lot of followers on their board. Even if you don't have a lot of Shadows, Ector still gets its full effect, a great effect if followers on the board because it gives them 2/2.
And of course, probably the most interesting deck out of all of them is Noah's Swordcraft deck. So Swordcraft has been having great success today in this particular tournament, and I think that Noah has certainly contributed to his part of that. Katana Unsheathed has been super popular as a one-drop, and it's always been a fantastic one-drop just because you gain instant value off of it. But these Swordcraft lists, including the Quick Blader as well as Fang Blade, is I think the key point to watch for. Albert, Gino, Floral Fencer, I think those are kind of more understandable go-to popular cards to take.
And
for
a lot of the
Swordcraft.
time, what this deck can come down to is the Maid Leader. Is playing that on turn 2 and seeing, is it going to be Albert? Is it going to be a Luminous Mage, Tsubaki? The best is obviously getting Albert in your hand. You want to get as many of those in your hand as you can. Not too early, though. That's where the source of the main damage for this deck comes from.
And I think it's working out really well. In fact, I might look into playing a little bit of this Swordcraft deck myself. But definitely having a very strong showing, and we just saw the full power of Fangblade Slayer in the previous match before the semis. So, into the round of 4, the first matchup ready to go is going to be MS Noah versus SN Exodium. Now, it's come down to the wire here. Of course, the tournament is a grueling best-of-3 single elimination. One chance, you got one shot. You got 3-ish.
3-ish.
2. You only got 2 losses.
Yeah, 2 losses.
Which is tough, and these guys are nearly at the end, but 2 more rounds they have to play to finish out the tournament, and Noah versus Exodium is going to be first up. What do you think? I want to see Swordcraft go all the way. I want to see a Swordcraft versus Bloodcraft finals, and because I'm greedy and I'm selfish, I want Bloodcraft to win. That's going to be my pick.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That would be neat. I still want to see Bloodcraft against Shadow. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping we get to that point. So either way, if Exodium or Noah moves forward, they've got the Shadow decks.
There's the opportunity for that matchup to happen. But if SP Mart is stubborn and chooses not to go for Blood, then
the question now is, what deck do you think these players are going to start with? Is it going to be the Sword coming out first?
I think the
Dragon?
Sword will come out first.
You think the Sword's going to come out first?
I think the Sword will come out first. I'm fairly sure the Sword will come out first because, again, we're talking about if you want to land your counter matchup, the only way to guarantee that is if you play your deck that's built to counter decks first, just because of the way the Conquest format works.
Right.
If you guys are not familiar, the Conquest format is you must submit 2 unique decks. And what that means is they have to be separate classes. So you cannot run 2 Swordcraft decks. You cannot run 2 Havencraft decks. You cannot run 2 of any of the same craft decks.
Even if the compositions are different, the classes cannot be the same.
And when you win with one deck, so you have deck 1 and you have deck 2, when you win with one deck, that is eliminated for the duration of the rest of the match. You must play your second deck and win with the second deck to move on.
So when you lose, you have the opportunity to choose your deck because you know which deck you're going against.
Yes.
So it gives the loser a chance to come back. But to win, it means you have to win with 2 different classes. That's absolutely key. That's the key part. Is you can't just be a one-trick Swordcraft or a one-trick Ramp Dragon.
One-trick Swordcrafter. I don't know why that statement's so tough. But we'll figure out which of these 2 players, Exodium or Noah, will move on to the finals here in just a moment. Let's take a look at which decks they started with. I was right.
You were right. It's going to be the Sword into the Dragon deck.
2 Alberts on a starting draw. I don't think that's super valuable.
No,
I mean,
when you've already got the Maid Leader, that's a card you can play and then draw it. Exodium.
Oh, but he got the Fangblade Slayer instead.
Yeah.
You would much rather draw that in the middle of the game.
Exodium electing to go for a full mulligan. He had Bahamut or Boros in his hand, but
he got the Dragon Oracle.
He did get the Oracle. That's great.
Now, Noah is leading in turns, which can be real good news for him. The only thing that makes it a little bit awkward is that you have less evolution orbs to spend on Albert, which, as we've seen time and time and time again, is so effective.
Absolutely, but with Luminous Mage, you're still getting those evolution orbs. And there's a lot of pressure coming out from Noah already with Novice and the Maid Leader being able to go for face.
And being forced to evolve on turn 5 means that you're almost guaranteed to play that Luminous Mage when you're able to evolve.
And there wasn't a great turn 4 from Exodium. He was forced to go for the
yeah,
Tempo
and
Cell.
the rush, man, on curve Geno.
Really great play for Noah, massively shifting the game in his favor. And there's not even a card that Exodium can play on turn 5. He didn't have Draconic Fervor. He didn't have Rahab or Grimnir. He was able to ramp, so that's going to be great. If he can draw Sybil next turn.
Oh man, he is swinging hard, and that's going to put him in single-digit health. 5 damage right there on the rush. Going real aggressive, and MS Noah knows how much momentum he has riding for him now.
Absolutely.
That Lightning Blast got picked up, but we were just talking about it. My God.
With 4 followers on the board, Lightning Blast isn't going to do much. You're going to be able to evolve the Sybil, but it's still not going to be able to do enough damage to take.
That's what we were talking about, where Lightning Blast was very situational, right? It's a card that a lot of people were raving about, and it's certainly a great card in the late game when you need that wipe. But in many ways, how often is that situation going to come up?
And what a quick game. I mean, that was the gold standard for what the Swordcraft player wants to see. That was over by turn 5.
There was a ton of great draw in that. You start with a Fangblade Slayer. It's not a good starting hand, just in the sense of like, okay, one of your 3 cards is not necessarily going to be effective for a while. Didn't even get to that point. He just kept drawing into cards that he needed.
His curve was perfect.
Yeah.
It was Made Leader into Novice, into Geno, into Albert, and that's what closed out the game. The pressure that Exodium just was not able to deal with. And that's Swordcraft off the table for Noah. He's going to be switching over to a Shadowcraft deck.
Talking to a lot of the kind of community members and kind of servicing their thoughts and figuring out how they see these decks playing out, was the exact comment that was made about Swordcraft decks, was that you draw into the options that you really play on curve, and you are in such a big advantage. There's almost no way to stop a Swordcraft deck that is just rolling down the hill. Probably the defining feature of a Swordcraft deck in this meta right now is that on curve, you're almost unstoppable. It's very hard to live up to that pressure because the cards are just so high value.
Exodium being able to play Dragon Oracle and have Grimnir next turn if he wants to, but this is a great 1/2 drop from Noah. Getting the Sergeant on the field. He doesn't have a great 4-drop, but he's got Grimnir in hand for this coming turn.
There's a Grimnir to trade, but it's awkward to attack into this. I mean,
he's going to elect to not attack, keep his followers on the board. You don't know if you're going to be drawing Catacomb next turn. You definitely want to keep your options open.
Yep. Breath of the Salamander, no enhance, but takes down the ward, and Grimnir is going to be able to swing for a free 2. Wait with bated breath. There's a lot of thinking on Exodium's side, and I can't imagine what the pressure must be like right now. You have to get blown out in the first game here, and you need to play very carefully. One mistake.
Exodium does have Sybil next turn. That'll be the 5th turn, so he'll get the healing, and he'll also get the ramp. So next turn, he'll put him on Overflow. But that's a Skull Beast and a Bone Chimera. Being able to clear the field.
Yep.
Still no Orthrus or Catacomb in sight for
another
Noah.
Breath of the Salamander, but I don't think that's a play right now. I like the choice for Sybil.
He's not going to evolve. Interesting. He's going to keep, and what a great choice too, the little Soul Squasher coming out from the top deck of Noah.
I think there was not really a good point to evolve. I think you really want to save those orbs, especially because you're behind on orbs, for when you really want to swing into power here.
And that's going to be a wonderful cost efficiency coming out from the Lirial Archer.
Got the 1 damage, just enough to take down the Sybil.
And that's a full board for Noah.
8 points. I mean, Breath of the Salamander is looking more and more appealing here. And now the Lightning Blast gets drawn. This game will be going up to 10 play points at least for Exodium.
Ooh, he plays Death's Breath. That's gonna leave him wide open to a Lightning Blast next turn.
And that's pushing card options out of Noah's.
He's gonna play Bahamut. That's gonna give him 5 shadows as opposed to the banishing. So now he's got Ector coming up with 10 shadows. That's gonna be 3 zombies.
That's
That's going to be
incredibly
12 if
significant.
he chooses to evolve. That'll be 12 damage without an evolve point. So he's going to have to
Shadow's
evolve one
gonna-
of the zombies if he wants to take out Bahamut. With
What's dangerous is that the lightning blast is here, and Bahamut will be able to swing. If he decides to go for face,
He's not going to be able to. It's rush, so it's going to have to
Oh, yeah,
evolve
that's
to
right.
trade into Bahamut.
I'll show you.
It's going to take Bahamut off the board, but there's still a lightning blast and Israfil next turn if he wants to use that.
and it's just not necessarily the most efficient thing. I mean, you've recouped some of your shadows here.
Right, but you're just giving the ramp dragon another turn to play a great card to evolve this Israfil, and this is the first evolve point that Exodium's had to use, and Noah's used all three.
An incredible position for Exodium here.
He's got Lightning Blast next turn if he wants to, if Noah has a way to deal with this Israfil. It's going to be tough. Ector, it's only going to be able to bring out one zombie with 4 attack. That's not going to be enough. So
It's not a comfortable situation for sure.
no, it's not.
And I think Goblin Prince's Bone Chimera? I
And
mean,
now-
that has the opportunity to spawn a lot of shadows, but you're slowing yourself down by 1 turn here.
Right, and Lightning Blast could completely negate all the shadows that you're going to go. He's going to evolve. That's going to be lethal right there. Being able to
7,
draw
10.
4T, plus the 2 damage that comes
Yep.
out from Israfil.
There it is. Israfil's active. I mean, that's such large reach there for Israfil. Having the extra 2 plus the evolve, and the 2 evolve orbs that Exodium decided to spend
Right,
were the most effective evolve orbs ever.
absolutely. And Noah did not have a way to deal with Israfil once it was on the board. He only had 2 cards in his hand, and he was 1 shadow shy of being able to get 2 zombies from the Ector play at the end there. That would have gotten rid of Israfil and bought him another turn, but that's all it would have really bought him. The favor was massively in favor of the Dragoncraft.
I was
deck.
so concerned with what Noah could play. That Storm, you have to respect the amount of damage that
That can
Forte
come out
can
in
do.
1 turn. Yeah, Forte or maybe Genesis Dragon. He didn't know if that card was in hand.
Yeah. Either one would have worked.
And now we're getting to see it, the Shadow Mirror matchup, Exodium, Noah. This is going to take one player to the finals, Exodium or Noah. We'll see what these first hands are going to look like. That's going to be absolutely crucial for these 2 players.
Both will triple mulligan. And it's a much safer, I guess, curve that was earned on the side of Noah, but Exodium also has constant play options. Perhaps not the best options here. Oh, the
He's gonna have
Attendant of
to
the
play
Night will fill it out.
Right, he's going to have to play the Soul Squasher for tempo. Neither player had a 1-drop, which I think is important. They're both kind of even as far as that's concerned. It's going to be Attendant of Night for the Bone Chimera. The Bone Chimera has great synergy with the Soul Reaper, or Shadow Reaper, excuse me.
Yes. And Attendant of the Night has better synergy with Necro Assassin.
Yes. So both players chosen their compositions very carefully. The Attendant of Night, he has to go for face. He can't attack the Bone Chimera.
There it is. Going for the Lich. Very high value cards on the board for Exodium.
It's a lot of damage if he wants to go for face next turn. Noah does have an evolve point.
Got to play the Shadow Reaper and then Lyriel. And I think this is a good turn to play Shadow Reaper on.
Evolving Lyriel, attacking the Lich.
And then you can throw your 2 skeletons into the Necro Assassin and both kill them and remove the Necro Assassin.
So that's 3 followers that have just died, and your Shadow Reaper is now that much stronger. And you're able to clear the board. Really great play from Noah. Really knows how to utilize this Shadow deck.
And there's no options. You can't remove that Shadow Reaper right now. That's potentially 6 damage. And you've got enough shadows that you got.
Oh, but he does have
Storm.
Necro Assassin. That's going to
that's
destroy
right,
the random
right.
follower. And next turn, that's going to be a Cerberus in hand for Exodium. There's 7 shadows. That'll be enough to give Rush.
What?
even with these aggro decks, there's not a lot
Yeah.
of damage coming up. Both players are really going for control, are really vying for control.
That was a great play on the side of the Necro Assassin. Just having the second one in hand was so impactful.
Right, right. And Noah didn't have a 1-drop to be able to keep on the board. He wanted to clear the board. He could have kept a skeleton to make it 50-50 to try to prepare for the Necro Assassin.
Gonna involve the Bone Chimera. 2 orbs already dropped on the side of Noah, and Exodium, because of that ability on the Necro Assassin, has been able to keep up tempo without spending orbs. We'll be a little bit down on this side just because there's 3 cards on the board, but I don't think that Exodium is too worried about that situation.
No. He's got Coco and Mimi in hand right now. That's going to come in.
And look at how many shadows, and spending the Mimi is only gaining more shadows for Exodium, and Ector is in hand.
Right, when you've got 9, if Noah gets rid of Cerberus, that will be, excuse me, that'll be 9 shadows and 3 zombies with 4/2 for Ector, which will clear the board, most definitely. But even still, that's a pretty stacked board that Noah's got on his side of the field.
Death's Breath was a pretty big play there.
Right, even without having the ward, it's going to be great because
All these zombies will have to trade, basically.
all these zombies will have to trade, and you'll have followers. Noah will have followers on his side of the field, so his Ector will get a much higher value because he'll be able to go for face if he wants to. I think it's important to note that Exodium still has 2 evolution points, and Noah has used all 3 of his. That's important as well. We saw it in the last game. Exodium is very conservative.
He's been able to be conservative
with his evolution orbs. Absolutely. And I think it pays off.
And now he just doesn't have to be worried of any kind of weird rush coming out of a follower that doesn't normally have that ability. Really, the last rush that's available, well, the last kind of interaction for damage that's available, options are petering out for Noah. He's got the ward due to necromancy.
Right, he wants to get those wards on the field. That's 3 wards that now Exodium has to chew through.
Lurching Corpse.
An Evolved Lurching Corpse would be able to attack the wards, of course.
Perhaps?
Yep, I think that seems to be a great play. And he's got Zombie Party. That's 3 damage to one of the... Okay, good. Lurching Corpse randomly took out one of the zombies. It was a 25% chance. Or, excuse me, 75% chance.
If he evolves, there's no way to kill the corpse. He's going to gain that 2 health. But he will be able to remove 1 more of the zombies. And then maybe Zombie Party if he wants to swing face. If he does, that's going to earn him 7.
That's a lot of damage, bringing Noah down to 12 health.
Has lethal for sure. Unless some board clear can happen. Which is absolutely necessary. Interesting.
He attacked with the beast before
the
Ector.
Before the Ector or the Orthrus.
He's got soul conversion, so that'll bring him down to 8 curve.
Give him a few shadows as well.
Destroying the beast first gives him another option, I guess. And he's got Immortal Thane in his hand too, and Little Soul Squasher.
Ector is going to be the choice. You leave yourself in an interesting situation. You want to get rid of the Ector on the other side.
And now in the hand of Exodium, he's got Coco and the Attendant of Night, but
No opportunity to swing.
Absolutely. And so Noah being able to really bring the tempo back in his favor, I think is great.
Ector in this particular mirror match is really showing his benefits here.
Absolutely. And Nicholson right there does not want to attack that Lurching Corpse. Oh, but Soul Conversion. It could...
Swing for face and convert.
You gonna mess with me?
Or does he want to swing to
I guess
board
he
clear? and
doesn't want to
convert?
take the 50-50 chance because
Yeah.
he can't attack the zombie because Lurching Corpse can only attack followers with ward or the enemy leader.
Oh, he's going for the Lich.
He's got the Reaper in hand.
Going for face. So that means he's letting 7 damage plus more come through. And there's just no way to trade. As he's trying to trade out, that Shadow Reaper is getting stronger.
Right.
Orthrus has arrived.
Okay, Skull Beast. Would have been nice if that landed on the Reaper, but it was a 33% chance. And now he doesn't have enough orbs to play the Thane, which is interesting. There wasn't an evolve point. It wouldn't have gotten huge value. He needs to
So
clear
it
the
really
board.
comes down to the top deck on Exodium's side.
Right.
Souls, they're so fresh.
Good play, filling his board with followers to give the Lurching Corpse the
Yes.
smallest chance possible of destroying Ector, the strongest follower.
Yes. Very careful. Oh,
Top deck Cerberus.
no!
That's gonna end the game. That's lethal right there.
Oh,
Exodium advancing to the
no.
finals with the top
He
deck
needed
Cerberus draw.
what? He needed, I mean, oh my god.
Oh man.
Even, to be fair, even Phantom Howl would have done it, so there were a few options
Right.
that he could have drawn into.
Right.
But, oh my god. That feels
If Exodium were able
really...
to Phantom Howl, Ector would have given him the attack damage he needs.
Mhm.
Cerberus, though. This little guy right here,
Yeah.
advancing to the finals.
Coco and Mimi do it once again. Once again, they're like a crime-fighting bunch. That's so rough right there.
Mm-hmm.
You were both one turn away, and your opponent was out of options, completely dry. And then Cerberus comes up right at that key moment.
Right.
And you couldn't... It was random chance as well, right?
Mhm.
Orthrus was looking for...
Right.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
But we saw Noah weighing his options in that game about what to do about the Lurching Corpse. He had 2 followers on his field. He was able to fill his board, which gave Lurching Corpse. I love that play. I loved watching that play.
Yeah.
That was
Absolutely. Definitely a mark of a more veteran player. Let's take a look at the bracket really quick and see what the situation stands. What the standing situation is. Exodium will move on to the finals, and despite the early victory from Noah on the Swordcraft deck, will be eliminated in the semis. Concussion and SP Mark coming up next.
This is what I'm most excited for, is the Blood Sword deck that SP Mart is going to be running. I really can't wait to see how it's going to stand up against the Storm Dragon deck
Yeah.
and the Shadow deck
Yeah.
that Concussion has.
And really, the more interesting thing for me is to be able to view the full deck lists, to be able to see what exactly goes into that Bloodcraft deck that we didn't get to see played, because we only really got to see it played once, because it won, and then it was just, that was it, right?
Right.
We saw the Dark Airjammer combo, we saw Belphegor putting into Vengeance, and we got to see a lot of things at Storm, and Vengeance is doing a lot of good for SP Mart. But really, I want to see what that full deck list is to get an idea of what options are available. But before that, let's take a look at Concussion's Shadowcraft deck. And we've seen this time and time again, so we might be able to get a good idea of what could be coming down the pipeline. Demon Lord Ector, Immortal Thane,
Skeleton Knight is a card we've only seen uniquely in this deck, but gives him some more options on 3-play. Wind God as well, and as well as Goblin Princess. Plenty of aggression, plenty of chances to get high value for your orbs.
Wind God is kind of an interesting deck within the context of Shadowcraft, just because of now Shadowcraft has this ability to maintain a lot of followers on board, and Wind God just becomes a great pick for that situation. And so I think that's a solid Shadowcraft deck, and evidently, as Concussion has made it thus far, has been incredibly effective. But you can't survive on just one deck. Let's take a look at the Dragoncraft deck available here. And this was the one that carried Zeus. which is interesting.
Hmm.
Lack of Lucifer, but has a Zeus, which I feel like is a more efficient way to play the deck right now, to play the class right now.
He's got one Ouroboros, which I like in this particular matchup going up against Blood and Sword. There's really no banishing capabilities. I think he might have Odin, but that's it. And having one Ouroboros, it's never going to go away. Basically, it's always going to be either in your hand or on the field once you have it.
So I think some very good options for concussion.
Mhm.
It's going to be tough for SP Mart to push through, but we've seen what kind of damage Swordcraft can do. Let's take a look at SP Mart's deck right now. We've seen what kind of damage the Swordcraft deck can do when it gets a good curve. Bloodcraft in a very similar fashion,
And look
playing
at this
super
curve.
aggressive.
It's perfect. 15, 8, 9, 8. I mean, he knows that he's going to end the game. He doesn't even need a card that costs more than 6.
And in the deck that we saw in the pre-show, utilizing the JCG, there were cards like Revelation and Maelstrom Serpent for that kind of contingency plan. None of that here. It's just, we're going to play aggressive, we're going to play early, and we're going to guarantee that those cards are going to come into our head.
Someone's been watching the JCG.
Someone's
That's
been
what it tells.
watching
That's
there.
what it tells me.
I think a lot of these players are experimenting and figuring things out. Finally, let's take a look at the Swordcraft deck that SP Mart is running. TAG Katana Unsheathed, of course. Very, very, very similar, if not the exact copy, I feel like, of Noah's Swordcraft deck.
Yep. There's the Maid Leaders, Alberts. Really wanting to get those cards in hands. The Maid Leader can come in absolutely crucial as far as being able to draw Albert. And also Luminous Mage as well. We've seen how crucial Luminous Mage can be with its ability to gain a free evolve point.
It's interesting to think that Swordcraft before was removing commanders from their deck because they only wanted Maid Leader to draw Albert. But then in its expansion, they gave you another commander card that was like, well, we're okay with throwing this in there because drawing any of them is actually great.
Right.
So, solid decks on both sides, Concussion versus SP Mart. I know you're gunning for Bloodcraft because you want to see that in the finals. And unfortunately,
Don't you want to see it?
fortunately, so am I.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But Concussion's decks, as proven time and time again, are really solid. And seeing Zeus make it to the finals was pretty cool, too.
Right.
Zeus, the
Right,
title
right.
character of the expansion. You know, I would love to see him get some representation.
Yeah, we'll see which player, if SP Mart has chosen his Blood deck. That's going to be really nice. I think against this Dragon deck, it's going to be SP Mart starting with his Sword deck in the Concussion's Dragon.
Ruler of the sky.
All right.
You must die.
Oh. Let's see what the draw is. He's got 2. He's got 1, 2, and 4. He's nearly completed the Sesame Street.
There's some ramp for Concussion with Sybil, but I think he'd really like to see an Oracle and a Rahab for that 2-4 combo.
He would just need a Novice Trooper to really round this out.
And there's not a one-play. There is a one-play card in Concussion's deck. He does have Dragon's Breath,
Yes.
which would help immensely dealing with Veteran Lancer there, getting rid of the ward. Still, he's forced to play Zell for tempo.
Thankfully, he has another one in hand. There's the Maid Leader to draw a commander. Luminous. No, it's going to be Albert.
Maybe another Albert.
Luminous, actually, I think would have been preferable there. You already have Albert in hand. Getting that Luminous will guarantee you a strong turn 5.
Still, though, with these two Alberts, it sets the tone for a third Albert. It sets the tone for the game. He's going to have to go full aggro if he wants to stay alive and if he wants to take this home.
And again, we see that interaction of turn 3 Grimner being challenged by turn 4 Geno.
Right, Concussion hasn't been able to ramp yet, and he's already at 13 health.
Oh,
This is
gonna
going to
have
be
spend the
detrimental.
evolve.
He's
Gonna swing into the Geno, but the Geno can a second Geno can actually answer. Or your quick
or an
later.
Albert and take the Katana into Grimnir with 1 health.
Yep. I think that's gonna be it. He really wants to push face damage.
Yep.
Evolve as well.
And there's not a way that Concussion has to deal with this Albert.
Leaving with 7, and we see again Dragoncraft being
And he's got another evolve point for the Albert next turn.
Sybil.
The evolve Sibyl's still not going to be able.
And there's no
and
overflow.
he doesn't have overflow. He's not going to be able to heal.
Oh no!
Oh, that's going to be SP Mart.
What?
He knows. I think he knows.
He could, yeah, he could. Well, he couldn't take down the Albert.
Right. He couldn't take down the Albert, and
There was no option, and again, Dragoncraft just gets outpaced.
you got to know that there was Albert or at least Alwida's in hand. SP Mart, his Swordcraft deck was just too much for Ramp Dragon to handle.
Two different matches in a row. Turn 6, just absolutely stomping out Dragoncraft decks. And you know what? This situation doesn't get any better. Because if you thought that was fast, well, you got a Bloodcraft deck running at you now.
I think he's going to have to see the Shadow. He knows that bringing Ramp Dragon into the Blood deck is going to be rough. It's going to be a rough battle.
He's going to have to face his fears eventually.
Right.
So, unless he wants to change that from a 2-0 to a 2-1, now, I mean, I can't see into the future. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. There can be some brick making happening today, but that's tough to do. When we looked at some of those curves, it's tough to brick that.
Right. And with the Bloodcraft's curve, with 15 2-cost cards and only 3, 4, 5 followers, I wonder if he's staying with his Dragon deck. He's not playing his Shadow deck.
And the Bloodcraft character goes first.
Oh my gosh. We know that there's no 1-cost cards, and he drew Soul Dealer. That's great.
Gonna keep Soul Dealer, keep Spiderweb Imp, which is not necessarily an aggressive start, which I think is definitely what you prefer against Dragoncraft.
Still though, with so Concussion, excuse me, SP Mart is going to be able to put the Imp on the board before Concussion is going to be able to utilize Dragon's Breath, and that's 4 defense. So Dragon's Breath and even a 2-cost Breath of the Salamander is not going to be able to get rid of that board. Yeah, it does 2 damage to your face, but it's such a high value card in this deck when you're already trying to get to 10 health. And with Belphegor in hand as well, the 2 damage doesn't mean a thing that you've given yourself.
You're already going to go to 10. So you're basically getting free damage value.
And there's not a Grimnir or a Rahab in the hand of Concussion. He was able to use Oracle. He was ramping up a little bit. And he's got Aelia and Blazing Breath next turn. But a second Imp, that's 8 points of ward.
I think it was a smart choice to save the Razor Claw. Definitely a smart choice. No evolve, so that Ayla is just going to be standing there for a while.
And the Blazing Breath is kind of going to go to waste if he wants to use it on one of the Imps. Next turn, Belphegor is going to come out for Bloodcraft, bringing him down to 10 health. And he's got the Evolve, or excuse me, he won't have the Evolve point till turn 5.
I think that's such a good idea.
He could play Soul Dealer or Belphegor this turn. Both would bring him down into Vengeance. I wonder what he's going to elect to do. He's going to play Belphegor. And go for face for 2 damage. He doesn't want to get rid of that Aelia. It's tough because Aelia is not going to be able to trade in and kill itself off this turn.
And remember that there's still Storm from the Dark General.
Storm and 2 Evolve points. The draw on the healing and the extra ramp is nice.
Evolve and take down one of the Spiderweb Imps. Let's reset to 20. Diabolic Drain is available. But I think ramping up the Dragoncraft player in this situation is really risky. Gonna go for the Storm and the Evolve.
Definitely wants to get that maximum face damage. That's 11 damage to face right there.
Sahak Wheel is available, so that's going to be a large amount of board clear. One more Storm, but that's only going to give you 6 damage.
Yeah, Sahak Wheel with Bahamut would be great, and Aelia could trade into the Imp and get rid of that. That'll leave 1 follower on the board.
He can wipe everything with Sahak Wheel.
Yeah, evolving the Sahak Wheel. I think that's the play for him to do. I think that's the most optimal play.
Imagine this situation if there was 1 less ramp. It would be very uncomfortable.
Right, if you were only on 6 orbs this turn, that would have meant the game. But Concussion is going to be able to hold on. He's only got 9 health. He doesn't have Sybil. or Israfil, so there's no healing available for him. Playing Dragon Warrior.
Evolve is going to allow him some pinging damage.
And he still has Breath of the Salamander in his turn. He's going to use Blazing Breath, and he could still use Breath of the
clear.
Salamander as well. He's going to keep that in his hand.
There's Diabolic Drain.
A worthy performance.
Rage empowers me.
Oh, the Razor Claw, of course. And the Evolve. And it's over. I completely forgot about that card on the first draw. The Razor Claw was
He was
being
able to
held,
hold
and
on
he
to that
chose
card.
He chose to hold, and in that turn, he chose to play the Spiderweb Imp, and it was save the Razor Claw exactly for that situation. An easy 2-0.
And now, yeah, that's SP Mart moving on to the finals.
You know, you try as desperately as you can to clear the board, but in the end, your opponent still has that storm and still has that danger that can blow you out. And I think that, yeah, I just think that there was a lot of intention and good decisions being made on SP Mart.
Right. For Dragoncraft, you've got a few options. You can heal yourself if you got those cards, go for face damage with Forte, or ramp up, get some wards on the field, and try to clear the board. You can't do them all. And even then, you can usually do one of them one turn, and that's still in the favor of Bloodcraft. He's still able to finish you off next turn.
The interesting thing is we were all talking about how you can beat the pace of these Dragoncraft and these Shadowcraft decks. And certainly, I guess, in the case of Dragoncraft, it looks like these Swordcraft players are really doing it with their decks. Of course, you're looking for a little bit of a draw. And Bloodcraft's aggro Bloodcraft is certainly doing that, and it looks fairly consistent. I almost wonder if this is going to dissuade people from playing Dragoncraft and just say, you know what? I'm just going to join them. I'm just going to play aggro as well.
And now we're going to see a bunch of Blood decks and no Dragon decks.
Dang it!
The Blood-Blood matchup, that's what we have to see next.
That's what we have to see next. Let's take a look at the bracket to see how our finals are shaping up. Exodium versus SP Mart. And these two players have come a long way, and Exodium is kind of upholding the meta right now.
With Drag Shadow, yep.
He's upholding the meta, but SP Mart seems to be the assassin in the middle of the night, looking to kill the kings.
His decks are great against Shadow and Dragon. It's almost like he planned to see a Dragon and Shadow decks in this tournament. How could he have known?
How could he have known? How could he have known? So, for Bloodcraft to win both a tournament in the JCG as well as a tournament in the West, as well as the NGE Shadowverse Open.
That's pretty convincing. That's all the convincing I'll need.
Yeah, two instances of the win.
Yeah.
The only Bloodcraft deck that showed up. Which, I mean, it was a similar case for the playoffs in JCG. The only Bloodcraft deck that showed up won.
Yeah, it's no longer a secret. No longer a secret that this deck can dismantle the meta.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows now. Now, going into the finals, Exodium versus SP Mart. I'm convinced. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna say SP Mart is gonna take this.
I think that's a very, very. I would take those odds.
Maybe Exodium's Shadow deck can take out the Sword deck if they meet in that matchup. But that's still, and then the Shadow deck's off the table, and he has to put that Dragon deck against the Blood deck.
I definitely think that that's probably the way you want to go. Give yourself 2 rolls with the Dragoncraft deck, because there is a world I can feel where the Swordcraft doesn't quite get the curve that it wants, and you're barely able to survive on Dragoncraft. And once Dragoncraft hits those late game cards, it gets really difficult for Swordcraft, I feel like.
And it's going to be SP Mart choosing his Sword deck and Exodium choosing his Shadow deck. This is the first game of the finals. We'll see who can take this first game, Shadow or Sword.
Deliberating on the mulligan, and both players are going to keep.
Both players keeping their full mulligans with no 1-drops.
First turn goes to Swordcraft again, but no 1-drop play. And that extra body on the board is actually so important in this particular tempo. Now he gets the quick
Now he gets the 1-drop. Maybe next turn if he wants to do Sword Swing and then the Quick Blader, that would be a great turn. If Exodium plays the Mummy, which he does.
Yeah. He's going to be able to do 3 and eliminate the mummy.
Mm-hmm.
There it is.
And so for next turn, that leaves Exodium with his Attendant of Night. Or Zombie Party? No, you've got to play Attendant of Night. Yeah, that's the most optimal
It's really
play here.
uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
A very awkward turn because the Attendant of Night cannot attack. It can't board clear.
Right. There's no board clear in the hand. He's got Zombie Party, but that's his full turn right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that still leaves.
Though I almost think that that's worth it because do you expect this game to go to 7 points?
Right. SP Mart is definitely going to try to. There's the Novice Trooper. He's going to try to do as much damage to face as he can.
Yeah. The big problem I feel like playing Party is that it doesn't stop the situation that you're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Evolve comes first for Exodium.
He could use Soul Conversion if he wants to get rid of the Attendant of Night and get a Lich on
Get a
his side of
Lich
the
and
field.
maybe Evolve?
Catacomb into Evolve.
What are you hiding inside?
That's a pretty good turn.
That's a pretty good turn. There's still 2 followers on the side of SP Mart.
I like that he evolved the Catacomb.
Right.
Finally a break.
Yeah, that was a good value there. He knew the Catacomb would stay alive, and he's still going to summon a zombie when he dies. Both of them are.
Now the wards are actually going to slow down Exodium by quite a bit
Mm-hmm.
and continue to be put under pressure here. The first Evolve Orb going to be spent on board clear.
This is a good trade from SP Mart. He's going to be able to get rid of all the followers. So even if Exodium draws another Catacomb, it's not going to have a great effect. He does have a Soul Squasher. That's going to be able to get rid of the Grimnir.
Mm-hmm. As well as you could board clear if you spend the Evolve.
Right. Or Phantom Howl if you want to try to even out that face damage. There's a lot of options. Exodium quite frankly, has a lot more cards in his hand than SP Mart.
Yeah.
There's a lot more
I
options
mean,
playing
this
in
is
his
the thing
favor.
about playing aggro, right?
Mhm.
You play out your hand really fast.
Right, there was that one turn where Exodium was able to clear the board and keep himself alive and mitigate a lot of the damage that SP Mart was trying to do.
Also needing to spend the Evolve on Grimnir and not earning himself face damage.
Right. And now
Want to play?
SP Mart is going to have to deal with the Reaper on the field.
Bye-bye to your life. We're together forever.
What's a card to be drawn here? It's going to be Albert.
Still not a perfect curve.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you were to draw Tsubaki, not going to have great effect. There's no follower with 5 attack. He's
Very quickly ran out of options.
he's going for face is tough. Clearing the board is tough because Shadow Reaper's just getting stronger. You don't know what Exodium has in his hand if you're in the shoes of SP Mart. He could have Cerberus, but he is sitting pretty at 19 health, so he's got a few turns. It's difficult for Shadowcraft to do 19 damage in one turn. It's
The
almost,
real danger is if Cerberus pops up at any point in time.
Right.
And especially once we're getting towards that 7 play point zone, if you can't wipe the board and Cerberus pops up, it's very easy to just play Cerberus and then start swinging and buffing up, and you could end up finding yourself dead.
the snowball starts rolling down the hill, and that's a lot of damage.
And especially with Phantom Howl, unless he can put Exodium into a situation where, and I think this is probably why the Evolve is coming down here, maybe face, yeah. And I agree with his choice because unless he can really put the Shadowcraft player in danger of dying and constantly swinging at cards rather than face,
Right, he knows it's turn 6. He knows Death's Breath could come out, but he doesn't have enough shadows for ward. So either way, next turn it's going to be really difficult for Exodium to mitigate a lot of the damage coming out. He's going to have to get rid of the Albert because he doesn't know if Alwidas is going to be drawn or any other Storm followers.
Also you.
gonna evolve the Mummy.
And so that's a lot of resources spent to get rid of the Albert.
Gonna get 6 damage here. And you're getting really close. I like the use of the Lurching Corpse. A second Albert comes up, but 3 damage is not quite enough. Double ward. That's it. The next turn is 8, and at 7 with no evolve orbs, SP Mart just needs 1 tick of damage. That quick blader on turn 1 could have done that 1 damage.
That could have been it. Man, trading the Lurching Corpse into Grimnir would be nice because then Orthrus as the next card would have done 2 damage to either of them. Playing Ector, obviously very good. I think because Lurching Corpse attacking would destroy both of them. Attacking one would destroy it, and then it would randomly destroy the only remaining follower, and then you could go for face for 10 damage.
Yep. Has 10 damage, no play points to kind of assist that any further. Doesn't have any evolve orbs, but does not leave SP Mart in a good situation. Oh no. Of course, the Lurching Corpse for the trade means that the Shadow Reaper got just a little bit more.
And that's going to be Exodium taking the first game of the finals.
Yeah, there's no
With
way
Albert
out of this
only-
situation.
Yeah. Albert's going to be able to take out the Soul Reaper, and then the turn coming back to Exodium.
Hey, why so angry?
Out of cards, out of options, out of the game. And so Exodium is able to stifle the pressure from Swordcraft. And it's very important for Swordcraft to continuously draw into that curve because you can see how quickly they dry out. And especially that curve did not include any kind of cards that would fish options for you as well.
Right.
Didn't see a Luminous Mage. I mean, the Maid Leader would have helped that situation a little bit. Drawing into the Alberts earlier I don't think would have really helped.
And going into
But-
the second game, now Exodium has to play his Dragon deck. And it's going to give SP Mart the perfect opportunity to play his Blood deck.
And he's going to do it. So down 1.
We'll see if the Blood deck can do what it's done so many times today.
A fairly good hand here. Oh, gets another Zell for a Zell. A single Blood Wolf for SP Mart.
Exodium's got some ramp and some healing. He's going to need that. But even then, we've seen that even when the dragon ramps, it might not be enough. Because SP Mart's going to be doing damage to himself and tons of damage to the side of Exodium as well.
Gets the 2. Has Curve. Dragon Oracle.
With Rahab next turn, that's great.
And of course, because SP Mart is going first, there's not really a situation where he can play Belphegor Evolve,
Right.
which
But
was
still-
a really great way to get rid of Rahab.
But still, Belphegor is going to give the Devil of Vengeance the opportunity to attack this turn as well.
There it is. Devil of Vengeance. Trading in the Wolf as well.
And now Exodium is in a really tough spot. He doesn't. He's one
He
play
has
point
to
shy of
pretty
having.
much draw Revolve Zell.
Yep.
Breath of Salamander. Zell Evolve.
That clears the board, which is great. That mitigates a lot of the aggression on this from the side of SP Mart. But there's still the Dark Air Jammer next turn.
Yep. The Dark Air Jammer could very well pull the third Blood Wolf. Or get the 1/4 ward.
I'm powerless.
Urius,
Double Urius. Wow. We'll see what this draw is going to be for Exodium. It's going to be Grimnir. He's going to have to heal up. But that's still
another
5.
Lightning Blast. I'm not sure. I mean, the double Grimnir
He's
might
not going to get
slow
the chance
him
to
down.
use it.
Yeah. Blood Wolf has the Storm. This is a very tense situation here.
Absolutely. Every
He's gonna evolve.
attack damage. He wants to get that 1 damage to face. He needs to bring him down. He's already at 19 health.
Your tragedy has begun.
Oh, give an allied Storm. There it is, Demon Commander. And we were talking about that earlier today, the difference between the Demon Commander as well as the Dark General, where one will gain Storm itself and one can give Storm.
He's got 2 wards, but I mean, but still with Dance of Death I don't think it's going to be enough. I think SP Mart is going to be able to take this next turn.
Time and time and time again, the Bloodcraft deck shows itself to be too fast-paced for Exodium for Dragoncraft in general to really stand up.
Mhm.
I mean, even playing a Grimner is going to hurt.
Right. He does have an Evolve point. That's going to be one follower off the table. The 2 damage from Urius does not feel good.
You're going to want to go for, if you do evolve Grimner to try to remove, you're going to want to go for the Lyriel. But then...
Or the Air Jammer, because that can still be evolved. He does have 1 Evolve point.
That's very true.
Won't be long now.
The Air Jammer would technically mitigate most of the damage. But he's going to go for the Lyriel. And so there's 8 damage available right here, but Dance of Death, oh! The Evolve doesn't need it. Doesn't need it.
There it is.
Bloodcraft finishes it out. SP Mart. So many aggressive options, and of course Dance of Death continues to demonstrate why it's one of the best cards in the game. Now it's up to Swordcraft.
Right.
I feel like the Bloodcraft deck is very consistent.
It's very consistent.
Right.
There's, looking at the curve, there's almost no way that the draw can work against you. You're almost always getting exactly what you need for the early 2, 3, 4 plays.
But is the story the same for Swordcraft? I mean, this can even hurt in some ways because Exodia got kind of a good hand for himself as well.
Right.
I mean, maybe he could have had... What do you do? He even had a great board clear in the middle. But still, the combination of Air Jammer as well as double Urius just kind of really punishing you for dropping any kind of ward.
Prepare for
There's not really a good way, I feel like, to stop the momentum that was coming from SP Mart in that particular situation. I think he played Blood again by accident.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, he won with Blood.
A little the wrong deck, so we'll wait and see what the admin decision is. Needs to play a Swordcraft deck, and that's really tough because in many ways that kind of disrupts the flow of the game because you see the mulligan already.
Right.
So we'll see what comes
But
of
we
that.
have seen SP Mart's sword deck defeat a Ramp Dragon. The one game we saw, it was the absolutely perfect draw, to be fair. It'd be rare to see that kind of draw again. But even without a perfect draw, I think the sword deck is going to do really well against the Dragon deck.
I think so, and we've seen kind of that trend all throughout today where Swordcraft has been doing fantastically. That is with a caveat, right? There is a very big caveat there. Now, who knows how likely that is to happen twice in a row? But
I don't know. Even with Dragoncraft having a good ramp and good healing, it's still, I think it's going to be too much for the Swordcraft to deal with.
So, we'll have to wait and see. An interesting turnout. An interesting turn of events today with the NGE Shadowverse Open. Bloodcraft, I think, should be considered, at least in this fashion, against these decks, a mainstay of the decks that you choose. Unless you're confident, I mean, I think I want to see that Bloodcraft Shadowcraft matchup a few more times, because then people may be playing. It's really hard to say, right?
Right.
Maybe Swordcraft is the deck that you need to beat, because your Bloodcraft deck is going to win over your Dragoncraft deck if you're ever going to want to play that. So instead, you want to bring something to beat the Swordcraft.
Right. With the 4 new decks that we've seen today, last week, Dragon, Shadow were the main ones, and now Sword and Blood are getting added to the mixed. And it's this rock, paper, scissors, I feel like, of these 4 decks all circling around each other. And we've seen Blood do really well against Dragon. We've also seen Sword do really well against Shadow, or really well against Dragon. So I'm still not convinced about the matchup between Shadow and Blood, because that's one we haven't seen too often.
Yes. Yes. So, we'll see. Today has been the uprising.
Yeah.
I'm so interested because the the exact week that JCG demonstrated a Bloodcraft deck being effective, NGE Shadowverse Open also demonstrates a Bloodcraft deck being effective.
The same deck, more or less,
And
the
it's-
same deck.
It's the first seed of evolution, I feel like, into people kind of refining their decks, and that's kind of a big thing in card games, is that small refinement of like, okay, if we change a set number of cards around, we can gain a certain amount of consistency that gives us that changes the dynamic of the match to one that is uncomfortable to one that is very winnable now.
Absolutely. And we are going into the final game of the finals today. SP Mart 1, Exodium 1. And SP Mart starting off with a Katana Unleash. Really great one drop. And he's got the Maid Leader or Leader Archer next turn. And only one opportunity to ramp on the side of Exodium.
And it's an expensive option as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Draconic Fervor. He does have 3 opportunities to get a Ward Follower with Imprisoned Dragon, Rahab, and Grimnir. So that's going to be able to mitigate a lot of the damage. And not a 3-play. It's not the worst. Unica acting almost like a ward.
Yeah, and I think there's not really a situation where Exodium really wants to swing face on SP Mart right now, so that's not going to be a big deterrent. But I think just in the fact that Unica does 2 damage as opposed to Maid Leader's 1, I think it was a good choice.
Right.
And again,
He's got Leno to deal with that Imprisoned Dragon, and that's another 5 damage. With an evolved Albert coming out next
many
turn.
situations where you have a 3-cost ward being dropped and Geno to answer right on the next turn with that 4-cost rush. And it's so important because typically when you go first, on turn 4, you don't have that rush option because you don't have the evolve.
Interesting that he chose to attack
my
the
gosh,
Lyrial
all
Archer
the
instead
Maid
of the
Leaders.
Unica. That's a lot of Maid Leaders.
Yep. Has to spend the evolve orb here, and that's going to lose Albert a lot of health.
Still, it was a perfect amount of attack damage he needed to get rid of that Rahab, and an extra 3 damage coming down. The bleed is happening.
Oh no.
Exodium is bleeding out.
Oh no. He's got Grimnir ward with the evolve.
But that's just
God.
that's just gonna get rid of Albert. He's gonna continue to bleed out. He's gonna have Overflow next turn. So if he draws Sybil, that's nice. And he has some healing with Draconic Fervor as well.
5 damage right here. It's Alweda's.
It's Alweda's. That's another 5 damage. That's game right there.
Oh no, it's Alweda's. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Oh my god. SP Mart bringing aggro back
Bringing Aggro Sword back.
in a meta that's dictated by control, by the terror of Bahamut soaring through the skies, by Wind Reader Zell telling tales to other followers and telling them to push forward.
Man. Oh, that was so satisfying to see Sword have such
Mart.
a good matchup.
SP Mart comes through, and I can't believe it. The exact conversation we had about how Swordcraft operates, and we get to see that play out time and time and time again.
SP Mart, we're going to see you in the playoffs in just a few weeks. Thanks for coming out. Really well played. All
SP
players.
Mart makes it through. Let's take a look at the bracket to see his journey. Just mowing people down. Just one after the other, sprinting to the finish. SP Mart taking down Exodium in the finals, Concussion in the semis, and the 7 in the quarters. Wasn't necessarily an easy fight. I mean, there are rounds that he definitely lost on the verge of elimination, but every single time he comes back and is able to defeat, I think the big crutch, as weird as it is to say, was the Dragoncraft deck. Was the big crutch against SP Mart. That was really the weak point. People just could not get a win.
SP Mart, the trendsetter. Now, do you think next week we're going to see a lot of these blood decks coming out? I think so.
I think that aggro is just so much more favorable in the sense that it's easy to get a consistent draw with it, right? Because everything is so cheap that you almost never have a turn where you're not playing anything. The control decks, the late game decks need to start thinking about, okay, I can't be so greedy with my card choice. I need to start adding in things that are lower cost that can help bridge that gap because I need to consistently find those options against these aggro decks.
Right, Grimnir and Rahab are not enough. We just saw it here today. You're going to have to bring out maybe some more
about
defense,
Geno,
some more wards.
Just consistently being more effective. The fact that they're 3 health wards, even if they were 4 health wards, right? Geno would still blow through and you would get face damage anyway.
Yeah.
And being able to play that on turn 4 is really
With
incredible.
Rush.
Yeah.
It's made. That card is designed for getting rid of wards.
Mhm. So, SP Mart is going to win himself 30,000 red vials. He's going to get the weekly champion title as well as an invite to the playoffs. And he's definitely earned it. Who knows what the game will be 10 weeks from now, right?
And now we've got 2 players on the top of leaderboards with 200 points each, Kier Mango and SP Mart.
Going to be joining Kiramango in the ranks of champions. So, what an incredible tournament today. Before we part, I would love to remind you guys, shadowverse.ng.io. Make sure you go to the website, sign up, and have a chance at earning your spot in the playoffs as well. There's $10,000 worth of prize pool at stake, $4,000 for first, $2,000 for second, $1,000 for third, 5th through 8, $500, third, fourth, rather. And I think that the game is shifting, right? It's taking a shift in direction. A lot of people were quick to jump on Dragoncraft and Shadowcraft, and based on the stats and the usage, you would definitely be convinced that was a thing, but a little trickle of variance is happening now.
I think what we wanted to happen has exactly happened. And the meta is being broken, and players are discovering new decks to bring to the table, new formidable decks and strategies that are going to change the game for next week. Can't wait to see that.
All right. Well, if you guys want to talk about how you felt about today's NGE Shadowverse Open, as well as what you would expect to see, or if you want to talk about JCG or anything Shadowverse related, at WatchNGE, follow us on Twitter. Participate in the social media. We would love to hear your thoughts. Congratulations again to SP Mart. I'm Rainey. That's Jeremiah. And from us here at NGE, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.